Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Some shit has gone down recently with Deity, and you wouldn't know because he hides all his live streams. But some slander has occurred, and we'd like to talk about that today.
Did
I
the
think
did the did the long video not stay up? The one that was like an hour and 48 minutes?
the one where you were being interviewed, I did not see it. No,
Oh
I think
no.
he.
I didn't know that he posted one of me being interviewed. Okay. That's
Well,
news
it was
to
the.
me.
I think he left the live stream with you up originally, and then shortly after you're falling out, he privated it.
Okay.
I
Yeah, I was
believe.
more so talking about the one where he talks about your schizophrenia and my DID, and it was like a huge long montage of like
Oh, the
this and
apology.
oh, yeah, and then there was
Yeah.
no apology in there.
Yeah. Well, there was towards me, but that's not like he was like almost saying uncle, begging for mercy almost more so than
Yeah.
anything. But yeah, talk to me about like just start from the beginning of when you first got into contact into how you were friendly for a while and what happened now.
So I didn't know of Deity period until one of the people that I'm still close with had messaged me and said that Vince was talking about me on Deity's channel, and I was like, who the fuck is Deity? What is going on? Is he about to dox me too? Because I knew that he had just doxed Wes. So I got really nervous and I watched it and was just apparently called a troll, and then I was banned from commenting in there, and I kind of just like distanced myself away from that issue for a bit.
Now, this was
And
New
then
Year, right?
yeah,
Correct. Okay,
yeah,
just set up a
um
timeline.
yeah,
'Cause
so that was
I
New
didn't even
Year's.
know you were part of New Year's, so because he hides
Yeah.
everything.
Yep, yeah, I was. And I mentioned in the one on his second channel too, he says like I didn't know who that person was. I was just going along with it. But Vince was talking about apparently a lot with other people, and he's doing some crazy shit now. So I'm gonna try and try and not talk about Vince because I'm like, I don't need anything from that man.
I'm a
Uh
big fan. I think since he's gotten fired, he has made me laugh so many times. So many times.
yeah, he's like he's doing crazy stuff on Twitter right now. I'm a little afraid.
Oh, I
Because
got
he
something about that before we went live. Actually, that's a little scary. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and he has like all of my legal information. No, not Deity didn't dox West. We're talking about Vince. We're talking about Vince. But back to association with Deity. So I fuck, I don't have my planner in here. I actually have it written down the days that I went live with Deity. But I think it was in January, in the beginning ish of January, he'd invited me on his channel. And I literally said verbatim, I was like, I'm not really here to talk about the RSN stuff. Like, that's whatever. I am more so just here to talk about restraining orders for Washington State. That was why I was first guested. And then after that, I was guested one more time. And then there was the time of me basically begging and saying, hey, this is really fucked up. You're trying to use our stories with RSN as collateral to silence RSN. I have screenshots of you asking for a full docs of him. And in the RSN chat, I was just getting dragged. And like nobody likes me from that community, and that's fine with me. I kind of have bigger issues to worry about, bigger fish to fry. But that kind of sums up until just recently when he was talking about how since I have DID, I apparently use it as an excuse. And also that I was born with DID, which no one is born with DID. So yeah. Hi, Irish.
Yeah. Hello, everybody's in the chat. Starting to catch up with it, trying to keep started to listen and keep up with chat at the same time. But
Yeah, I occasionally keep on looking over.
yeah, but one of the things I want to get into is he says you accused him of sexual assault. Now I have not seen any receipts of that,
No.
but he still seems to be sticking to his guns there. Now I don't want to accuse anybody of making anything up. Now, okay,
Yeah.
he may have just had a fake screenshot sent to him, possibly.
I would love
But
to see that fake screenshot because I'm genuinely curious of how me being in Georgia at the time somehow I made up this fake allegation. Like it doesn't add up. Like if you were going to lie about something, at least lie about something that could happen. But I think in general they're just trying to discredit me for like my past history with people. So if they make up a fake allegation that doesn't make any sense, people are going to be like, "Oh, was anything true?" And I'm like, I've had videos of me and my ex like fighting, not physically but verbally on my channel, but I've privated them because I didn't want people to like tear that footage apart, because it was more so at the time before my channel got big. I had posted all of the evidence submitted to the court case because I was like, this might help people identify some toxic patterns within their relationships. So I primarily am just an abuse advocate online. That's what I
Yeah,
do.
I went through your channel because you said like your story and everything was in your channel. I noticed like a lot of the videos were private. I was kind of wondering, like, I was missing pieces here and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. So that's why I privated a lot
Okay.
of stuff after my cam show got leaked. I just was like, I don't want anything that could actually hurt my psyche to be used against me. Because if it's something that I know in my heart didn't happen, then that's fine. But when people will try and manipulate things that went into court evidence and then use that as a reason why I lost like the overall case, the assault case, that would fuck with me, because I already beat myself up about that a lot.
Of course. Actually, I do want to talk about something like that as well. As far as Deity goes, he seems to be fostering a community over there that wants to encourage people to talk about their mental health, their mental
Yeah.
issues, and then, seeming when you piss him off, he tries to weaponize it against you.
Yep. 100%.
So I just find that very interesting, and it seems to be a consistent pattern with him, because he's done it to you. He tried to do it to me, and let's see, I think there was one other person. He's done it to a few people in his chat that are just normal commenters, anonymous people.
Oh, I haven't seen that stuff. I did know about you and I being targeted, and it's funny because in the same breath he'll be like, "I don't make excuses," but then earlier in the video he'll say, my anxiety was really bad. I was really stressed here. I regret what I said." And it's like, you can have accountability and say, "Hey, that was a slip up within my mental health." Like, that's something that you can totally do. And I think that fosters an environment of a lot more honesty, rather than just kind of being like, "Oh, I'm a shitbag," and like beating yourself up. Like, it's okay to be like, "Hey, my mental illness slipped up." Like, I actually apologized to Deity after the last stream that I was on, because uh Corey's like really close to the front. So basically I had kind of been a little bit more coke on than I realized. And at some point I had said something about RSN's testicles.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I literally added Deity on Twitter and I was like, "Hey, I'm sorry, I did have a slip up, and like that is on me and my entire system. Like, that wasn't necessary to demasculate
I mean,
somebody."
I mean, if it was funny, I mean, if people laugh, it was fine.
Yeah, everybody was laughing, but still, like, now looking back on it, I'm like, that doesn't look good for me as somebody who
Well, if it
tries
was
to
like,
present the best look.
yeah, if it was like a serious situation, maybe
Yeah.
not the humor, but it's fine if it was a joke.
Yeah,
But yeah,
so
he also, I noticed he had someone on there, a mental health master, as he calls himself.
yeah.
Yeah, he seems to have allied with that guy and is like I said, actively encouraging people to share all their mental health issues. People in there actively talking about being suicidal, which is, considering his behavior, almost dropped me.
Yeah.
Considering his behavior, it's a little dangerous, you know.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And like, that's somebody that I still haven't been able to have like a one-on-one, or a situation in which I talk to him with one of his moderators. We are actually in the process of setting that up still. But I just haven't gone to talk to him about it, because I don't know if he watched the entirety of Deity's video or not, because I highly doubt somebody in the mental health profession would like condone that type of behavior. And I could be wrong, but it just doesn't seem like it would align with the code of ethics. However, there is a difference between the online persona that you can portray and like being an actual therapist. Like, he's 100% a legit therapist, but I'm just saying that there may be a slight difference, or he may have just not seen the full video.
Well, I know he was inquired. Well, I'm not going to tell anyone how I know, but I know he was inquired about me. So I guess I have to inquire about him now.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. If you ever wanted to reach out to him, he has like an open Discord. I know that you don't use Discord, right?
I don't use any social media really, for the
Okay.
most part. Very, very
Yeah.
limited.
While we're on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, I like YouTube. YouTube's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
But
so
yeah,
so
I will sorry, what were you saying?
oh, I was just gonna answer somebody's question. Somebody said that had I talked to Vince before? Yes, I was talking to Vince about the RSN stuff after my cam show was played on YouTube. And this has not been the first occurrence of it. However, everyone else has agreed that they do not want to be mentioned in any capacity. They're all kind of moving on with their lives, and like I am too. Like, I don't want this footage to be used. Hey, RSN, if you're watching this, remember, I'm not relevant. So don't put me on your channel. Don't give me a platform, dude. But I
I'm a
just
clout
like,
chaser, so give me a platform. Give me lots of subs.
yeah, I had made a couple tweets about that because in a video he had pulled something and was dragging another person, and I was like, oh, I'm so glad we didn't actually do an interview about what had happened. But yeah, so I was talking to Vince, and
Oh, I
Vince
tried to
has
find her. Oh, sorry. Continue.
Vince has like my info and shit. So like I try and stay off that crazy train as much as I can. And then after like getting to know Wes and stuff, just like the stuff that's going on there, I'm like, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I attempted to find your interview with RSN only to find that the only thing I could find was it was privated. So everyone likes to private
Yeah.
their videos on YouTube. I don't do that, but everyone else seems to like to.
Yeah,
So
the only reason that I had reached out to Arzan, I didn't know any of his back history like at all. Besides, there was one interview, or not interview, one video by Rag Reynolds at the time that was up in which CJ had left the video down, but he left his mic on and was talking to a drug dealer during a relapse. And
I
like
heard about yeah.
yeah, and that was the only thing that I knew of him. And like being an addict in recovery now, I have almost 8 months. I was like, I'm still gonna work with him because maybe we could like foster a connection through like addiction recovery or something like that. So I did reach out to him to help me with the original person that was bothering me on YouTube and posting some pretty slanderous stuff about my abuse. So he helped with that, and she's actually left YouTube entirely. So
Well, like I said, it's hard to find information on anything or verify anything these days.
yeah,
Everyone private their videos. Everybody, like, not as bad as Deity. No one's as bad as Deity as far as I can
yeah,
tell when it comes to privating things.
yeah. I only private stuff that I have some videos unlisted because I unlist them and I put them on Patreon, and then I'll post them publicly. But most of the stuff that's unlist or that's privated now is mainly dealing with like my past abuse. From what I remember, I don't think there's many other things that I've just like taken down.
Yeah. There's another thing too about as far as Deity and mental health master go. It's
Mm.
it's it seems to me as though they tried to hunt you down. I was sent something like that you were in the same chat and they hunted you down and were starting drama about it.
Oh, I don't know about that.
That's what I
Uh,
was being sent. Things like was something his sister was claiming.
okay.
I don't
Oh,
know.
oh, when we were in mental health masters chat together. Yeah, I have in the past said like, here's an olive branch to other people when we've been in the same chat, and that didn't go over well. So like normally now I just kind of pretend like I'm not seeing them comment, and like
Oh, that's
that
pretty good.
looks that looks more passive aggressive, but like I would rather have that than publicly start shit on somebody else's live stream in the comments. Like that's just kind
Yeah,
of like
me and Deity have been in Stevie's live stream a couple of times. Those are great. You could just feel the tension across the keyboard. But moving on from that, I do want to talk about DID a little bit.
yeah.
Uh, Specifically the inner world, because I also have my own kind of inner world, but I don't think it's the same.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, so I just finished up a video that I posted to Patreon, and I might actually continue releasing more DID content before I release the video that I was planning to release. Because it's been really interesting seeing the feedback, because I've gotten some weird critiques of how, like, why is my cam flashing like that? That's weird. I don't like that.
Yeah, it's like strobe lights a little bit.
Yeah, I'm like, there's nothing happening. So that, okay. Who knows? Somebody might be screen recording me. I've had that happen more than I can count.
Even
It's harder to see if somebody's screen recording you when it's not an external webcam, because when it's an external webcam, it will flash the like the light on it basically, and that's how I can tell. But I can't tell with this guy. Sorry, I derailed.
do you remember where you were?
No, I do
Or
not. The strobe light freaked me out. I was like, what is going on?
I believe you were about to discuss your inner world.
Inner world, there we go. Okay, so I had done a video and that one will be up. I need to edit part 2 of it because I found more photos that represent like the whole house, as well as like there's an additional like garden and a cottage out back. But our inner world is weird because it changes if there's external changes. So like if there's changes that happen in like the world out here, then my inner world kind of reflects it. So far from what I've been aware of, the system has not lost the house again, but the only time that we have not lived in the house that I've had since I was a child, was when I was on the streets. So I was really worried that we were going to lose this really beautiful house, because like in when altars are inside, they can kind of like not create, but there's like some crafting that goes into making their environment comfortable. So like the house that we've had since we were young is like very beautiful. It has stained glass and it's like I really like it. And now knowing that this is another piece that has came up as of recently, I am actually an altar as well. Like some systems consider everyone an altar because you're all a part of like a mirror. Basically, if a mirror was smashed, like there's really no original part at that point. However, I don't have any memories from childhood, and that's normally what signifies like this was the original. And we recently have an altar who's came back, and I'm pretty sad on it. Corey's pretty sad on it, and our cousin verified that Skyla was actually the original. So I have spent time in the inner world, whereas from what we've gotten from Skyla, she goes to basically a dark place. She doesn't get to interact in the headspace area. It's weird.
Hmm.
So that's
It's
another reason that I think that Skyla is probably the host.
yeah. Well, it's interesting you say that it's the inner world is affected by outside changes. My inner world is not. I
Oh,
call it
okay.
it's a memory palace. Have you ever heard of that before?
No, I like that terminology though.
You can Google it. It kind of explains it a little bit. But
Okay.
essentially, it's a place that I build in my head. It's like a house. It's just a house.
Yeah.
It's not like an entire world, but it's a house. It's very detailed though, and you can attach things you need to remember into specific rooms and attach specific memories to objects. It's really hard to learn. Anyone can learn how to do this. It's really hard, but once you get it kind of under like a little bit of practice, it becomes very easy. So
I
my
think
memory
that
palace has
I think that mine kind of echoes a similar theme, actually, which is interesting. But do go on.
isn't. So basically, my memory palace is, like I said, it's in my head, but it's also a sort of a physical place. I can close my eyes. I can kind of walk around in it, see the rooms. I can pick up things in it. I pick up the things in it, and it helps me remember pretty much anything. That's why I have such a good memory.
Okay.
It's a little strange, but
I mean, if it's a memory device, though, that's really intricate
yeah,
and interesting. Yeah, I pulled it up in a separate tab. That way I could research a little bit more about it because I've never heard of anyone having that before. So
well,
I like
it's a little
that.
more complicated than a little bit more a memory device because in a way you can live there. If
Okay.
theoretically, I could still be functioning on the outside world and everything like that, but in my own head, I am in the memory palace. which,
Interesting.
yes, is an actual palace at this point. I so
Neat. Does anyone have questions
oh
upon
yeah, I'm
this
sure
topic?
now. If they
I'm
don't have
seeing just
questions,
a lot of highs.
yeah, people are starting to join up now. Just now getting the notification, like 20 minutes in.
Yeah, that
They all
happens on my
scrolled.
streams too.
Someone's accused RSN of being a reptilian. I see that.
You know, the reptilians are an interesting subject as well.
Well, I don't know if I do know the Queen of England transformed on television once. Other than that, I'm not for sure about the reptilians.
Okay, I would love to see some footage of that.
You
I
can see her
also
eyes turn lizard-like, allegedly.
that dude from the dude from Facebook and the dude from MySpace. I'm just like, they're not people. I don't. They're not like.
Oh, you mean crap, Mark Zuckerberg? Yeah, he's a
Yeah,
global pedophile, straight up. He's like in league with Epstein and all that crap, as far as I'm concerned.
yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah,
How
that
many
dude.
altars? I have the list. I actually don't have my workbook here with me. So I'm not sure about the count as it stands, but I would say, fuck, because we've realized that some of the people that we thought had integrated went dormant, which just basically means is that nobody knew they were still there. And since our headspace is kind of like a cityscape, people can just kind of go deeper into the city, and then we're like, oh, they integrated, when in reality they did not. So I would say around 14 to maybe 19, but I don't know for certain. I'm not like an internal organizer. That would be the person who would know. And like Corey's kind of filled that slot, but she also can't think of a number right now. Yeah, no.
Well, you mentioned an interesting word there, integration. Could you describe like what that is and is like how that
Um,
affects everyone else?
Yeah, so integration, I've had it happen once to my knowledge. And it was actually with a child altar. And we integrated together. So for my system and from what I've learned from my therapist that I did have where I was living, who was a DID specialist, basically each altar kind of serves their role, but if they can no longer handle slash they're not really needed, they'll kind of merge together. And when that happens, you get some of the memories that that altar had, or it can fragment off and be given to another part of the system. So it's pretty, it's an interesting disorder because especially if you're an intentionally designed system like myself, like my intentionally designed parts definitely serve like a really clear role, whereas the parts that have split off as like the adaptation of my brain type, they don't really have as clear of a role and it's more fluid. But the alters that have had programming, which a lot of people don't believe in, it's a very controversial subject, but I've actually talked about it with my therapist, and she says that based on the things that I've told her, that it does sound like that was the type of conditioning that I went through. So basically, programming can happen within mostly cult settings, but sometimes other settings as well. And altars will be intentionally designed. So, for example, one that we're all kind of comfortable with sharing is Aubrey. So, Aubrey is like our caretaker inside. She takes care of all the littles. But externally, she served the purpose and the role of being what would have been the mother figure to the children of the cult, basically. So, yeah.
Interesting. You said intentionally designed, or like the cult was making you split, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any idea why they would do this? I
It's
believe
a
you. I believe you. I believe in that sort of stuff happening. I just
Yeah, it's a very useful tool. It's a good way, I'm trying to think of how to phrase it. It's a good way of keeping people silent. It's also a really good way of developing the amnesic barriers so that if somebody was to go forward to the authorities, there are altars that have a kill switch. So basically, anytime that I get memories of like, oh, I should be proactive about this, I should speak out and tell people what happened to me, there are altars that will try and basically annihilate the body. And I've had that happen on multiple occasions, working through their programming to get it to the point in which that's not a thing has taken a really long time. But yeah, so that's basically why somebody would try to make a child split, because you have to keep in mind too, the people that are doing this, it's really sad because the people that are doing this are doing it to children below the age of 7, normally between around like 7 to 5. Those are like the primary ages where the brain can absorb enough information and the personality isn't fully formed. So,
Yeah, you spoke about the unholy trinity, you called it.
yeah.
Yeah, is that what do you think they were put there for?
Yeah. So, um, trying to see if Corey wants to come out to the front. I like normally don't like switching on cam, so it might take a second. Just give me a moment. Okay. Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome.
So we were talking about the Unholy Trinity.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So basically, we were designed like Quinn's definitely Quinn's a lot. Quinn is definitely the one that has like the strongest kill switch. Kate is more so. I don't even really know how to describe Kate. Kate's like a sexual alter, and I have like removed myself from the Unholy Trinity, so I've like worked through a lot of that programming. Trying to stay lucid. Muse
Take your
likes
time.
this. Muse likes this dog, so she like let out a heavy sigh and then was like, "Oh." um, Hold on. My heart rate's just going. It's Muse again. Um, I think
I can
I
kind of
was,
tell a little bit actually. When you,
yeah,
it's actually kind of interesting.
yeah. It's like that was one thing that I didn't really. I mean, I expected, but I didn't expect from like becoming super public about being a system is that there are some people that are saying that we can't even play a character, which is like so demeaning, but also like, am I a good actor or am I a bad actor? Like, I genuinely want to know because, like, I don't know what this looks like until I watch it back. Like, a lot of the videos that I edited recently, I had no fucking idea what was in them. So I'm going through my computer files and like one thing that I do want to show like the critics of this is the audio wavelengths because when one alter is making a video, I can see the audio wavelength and it's completely different from the others. Like
Yeah.
it has nothing to do with like how it's filmed or anything. Corey's wavelengths are very like this.
Yeah, it's one
But
of the ways I could sort of tell when you switched is that like your whole demeanor changes, your voice changes. It's very noticeable, at least to me.
yeah, and like it's a it can give me headaches, but like the physical manifestation that my therapist said that dogs pick up on is actually the respiration rate. So I think that's why when I came back my heart felt like it was going really fast was because I know because when I'm stepping back I can feel um the breathing kind of just like halt almost, like it's not completely stopped. However, it is the rate goes down a lot. And then like when I
Yeah,
come back, I feel like I'm out of breath because like my normal rhythm of breathing is different.
yeah, it's
Um,
interesting. It's like they're kind of like mentally and anatomically different people in a way.
yeah. Yeah.
But
Okay. That's interesting. The chat is actually saying that it's that it that it's interesting as well. Um oh,
oh,
somebody
yeah.
has ego states. That's interesting.
Oh, yes, Roger talks about his ego states a lot. That's another interesting thing that I don't know a whole lot about. So
Yeah, I
maybe I'll
don't know about
interview
that.
him. But
We should have Roger on for another stream sometime, and we'll have the memory palace, the internal world, and the ego states.
there we go. Our little crazy corner of YouTube.
Yeah, pretty much. And I mean, like, I'm all about like people like Mental Health Master and stuff, but it's also really important to have the disorders have their showcase as well, because like everybody presents differently. And like I was actually, where was I? I was in the car going to get vapes today, and I actually mentioned you. And we were talking about just like your channel, and like I had mentioned, I was like, oh, yeah, one of the alters wants to see the globalist video. And I got partway through it, but Corey wasn't here to watch it. And that's another really interesting thing is that I wish there was
Mm.
a way that I could click a button on YouTube and still be on the same channel, but like I could put, okay, Muse is watching this, and then other people would still pop up as you need to watch this because if
Um,
I yeah if I
Long
watch
stock
something,
account.
yeah, exactly, we need like 12 sock accounts,
Yeah.
which people have accused us of having. We don't. All of our YouTubes, I think they're all linked. I don't think Luna is linked to this one. But like most of the time, if we like when we had Tumblrs, everyone's Tumblr was linked so that you could go check out the other system members'
Yeah.
stuff.
So a question of personal curiosity, since they all have different thoughts and opinions. How am I liked, or do I have mixed opinions?
Oh, Corey, you're probably Corey's favorite of the YouTubers. Like she jives with your content the most. Luna was like kind of confused about what was going on because she's not here very often. Skyla found it to be informative because she at first thought that you were our cousin because our cousin has schizophrenia.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
So that was interesting. We had to explain to her, like, no, that's not Kenny. Don't be messaging him like it's Kenny. He's not going to know what you're talking about. Um, but for some reason, she just thought since we were really interested in YouTube that Kenny also had one. And he's very particular about what information he puts online. So yeah. But yeah, consensus is that everybody likes and trusts you. Like I think Corey had some apprehensions about like association to people, but like Corey is more so in the opinion of no alliances than I actually mean it.
Yeah.
Because for me, I get wary because I'm way too trusting of a person. And like all of the system calls me out on it all the time. Like I've lived with now 3 people that I've known only off the internet, and only just recently did it bite me in the ass. So
Wow. I'm the opposite. I don't trust anybody. Everybody's
yeah.
out to
Yeah, I just like I connect with people, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I wouldn't mind that. And then I'm suddenly living with them. And like I've lived in LA because of it, and I've lived in Georgia because of it. And the Georgia one was interesting because the only way that my old roommate knew each other was through the Onision bullshit. And then we both stopped having interest in it at the same time. We were like, no, this is
Yeah.
a fuck show. Like, no,
Yeah, you've lost interest in it now
yeah,
completely.
100%. I watched the Keemstar stuff because I was like, I just kind of want to see what like because I know how my abusers talk, so I wanted to see if it echoed the same patterns. Definitely did. And then I kind of just I'm kind of just checking out because like until there's actual legal proceedings, which we won't really know about because none of the other like the survivors aren't really on YouTube, and even if they were subpoenaed to Washington for court, it's not really something that they're likely going to talk about because for me, the court process was exhausting. And that reminds me, I need to go through my Instagram and upload all of the clips from my court case, because the court process in the US is very interesting because you have to be in the same hallway as your assailant, basically.
What?
Yeah, just waiting.
Stare at them right before your court case. Have a nice conversation.
Yeah, it's the freaking best, man. Yeah.
That's something right there. But I completely forgot what I was gonna say. Give me a second.
You're good.
Oh. But back to the whole just real quick onto the Onision thing. I stopped following it primarily because I was worried he's just gonna get away with everything.
Yeah.
But as far as the public victims go, Shiloh, I think they might be shit out of luck. But the one thing you might be able to get him on is the whole CP on his forums. Like, people just let that go under the rug, and I think that he might have him there, because I don't know if any of you have seen my my pedophile ring video, but I think there's some truth to
I have
that.
not. Yeah, I have not.
It's one of the first videos I uploaded. I was going over the theory that he was basically using his Patreon to create a pedo ring, because there's this hidden part of his forums known as the coterie, where only 9 people have access to, or some number like that. Only a couple people.
Yeah.
Okay, why would you have a hidden forum in your forum that only a select number of people? So I sort of made the speculation that the highest tiers of his Patreon, which were insane, like it's insane amounts of money for a signed photo. A signed photo of what? That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, it's probably not of him, but I mean, he does portray a lot of the traits as a narcissist. So, I mean, it could be a signed photo of him, but let's be real, it's probably not. Irish Badass, I will unblock you on Twitter and we can talk privately. Thank you for being civil with your question. I could feel Corey's voice just then, but I will also follow through on that. So
let me check the chat too, see if there's any questions. Sometimes the chat has good questions that I don't think of. I want to give them a chance to speak.
That was a big yawn. You awake now?
Do you all communicate with your alters by leaving notes?
Yes. So I primarily use right now my planner. So any important dates, anything throughout the day that really needs to get done, we write it down in there. And I think, no, that video is not live yet. There will be a video soon showing the differences in handwriting, and we don't even really need to sign who's writing anymore, because we kind of can tell by the handwriting, which I think is kind of neat, because before we'd have to like sign off, but now we kind of all know each other's handwriting. So we're just like, oh, so-and-so was out today.
Interesting. Even your handwriting is different too. That makes sense.
And Corey's POTS episode. Okay, there we go. Sweet.
Getting dizzy.
Yeah. I'm gonna try. It's better if I stand up. That's weird. Project that there. There we go. Yeah, there's like so much stuff around this room. I still haven't like read any of it.
See the flow chart. I mean, you're like me. I've got a flow chart somewhere too.
It looks like it is for like D&D or something.
Either you're a crazy conspiracy theorist like me.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely I've had alters have manic episodes in which like they create. There was one point in time when Corey was around for like a bit, and our mom got really concerned because in the course of one night, the entire room was covered in just like random scraps of paper and stuff, because Corey has this thing about like white space. She doesn't like the walls to be blank. And when she gets manic, she'll put like anything on the walls just so that it's not plain.
Wow.
Where you going, baby?
Speaking of Corey, when you did your face claim video, for some reason I had a feeling she was goth before you showed me. I don't know why. I just did.
Yeah, that was another thing that somebody I commented on, was the fact that I picked all conventionally attractive people. And I was like, you do realize I'm using Pinterest. I literally Corey typed in what attributes they had, and then just selected from the photos that looked the most like them. Like, you can't just like, there's not going to be conventionally unattractive people on Pinterest. Like,
That's a weird criticism. Your alters are too pretty. Make them ugly.
Yeah. And then somebody in the same comment, I think they were saying that like all the aesthetics are the same, and I'm like, no, like definitely like even within the Unholy Trinity, there's some. What you doing? There's some very clear differences of like Quinn is like grunge goth, and then like Corey's like goth punk, and then I don't even know if I'd really consider Kate gothic. She's like more of a scene kid. And like all of that has to do with like trauma association and also time period of creation. So like those styles back then in the 90s were really popular. So that's what our brain was like, this is it. This is the style. Like
Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
what they're doing being.
I'm surprised my dogs haven't attacked me yet.
Yeah, you said that you had like 5.
I have 5 dogs and 2 cats. Yes, I might have a problem. I want to get more if I had space.
Yeah, I am a one doggo type person. Um, it's a it wasn't too surprising to me when I got fake accused of animal abuse because everyone knows that like my dogs are like my babies. Like I think I still have a couple of videos of Artemis up on my channel, and she was my first service dog, and like we learned a lot from each other. And now I feel like I have better success with this one. Come here. It's empty. It's empty. You already ate your dinner. um,
Nope. Wait, we do have a question. You see it?
is it the friendly neighborhood? Okay.
Yep. There you go.
Have you ever had an out of body experience while watching your lectures from the outside? Yes, it's a very typical experience of dissociation. Um, so people in the DID community have already came up with this metaphor, so I'm not making it up, just so you guys know. I think it actually comes from the channel Multiplicity in Me, which was the first, actually no, it was the second DID channel that I ever saw. The first channel that I ever saw doesn't exist anymore. But basically, the metaphor is that whoever is in the body is driving a car. Now, Corey, for instance, would be in the passenger seat right now. She can see, she can hear, she may miss pieces here and there if she gets distracted or whatever. But for the most part, like she's along for the ride. Then you got people in the back seat. If you're in the back seat, I feel like that would be like the out of body experience element because you're only going to be catching like small aspects of what's been happening. And then you can be in the trunk, which basically means you have no recollection. So that would be me. Think the end of last week or the beginning of last week, I was completely gone for about 3 weeks or 3 days, and they didn't think that I was going to come back. And to be honest, the only reason that I did come back was because the housing issues are kind of my forte. I can kind of handle that shit.
Now, when you say gone, do you mean like in your inner world living a different life or just gone?
Yeah. Well, I was just gone this time because the events that kind of triggered me leaving. I'm like not fully ready to talk about what happened with my housing situation, but I trusted somebody a lot more than I should have. And that was kind of sad. So I left because of that. I felt kind of like just personally hurt. And then there was also the fact that I knew I was going to be hardcore needed again. And I've been, I help, I help. I knew that
Since you're going into this, I'll go ahead and post your GoFundMe link like I promised.
oh, thank you. I didn't know that you had promised that, but thank you.
I mentioned it in my messages, but there you go.
Awesome.
But continue. Let's all go into that.
Yeah, so I lost housing. I lost some trust, and like that is what it is. But basically, on top of everything, recovering from surgery at the moment. So that's been hell. But feeding tube surgery, for those of you who don't follow my channel. So I had a low profile button placed, and I'm convinced that the doctors were just idiots because they were like, "Hey, we know this just flipped out of your small intestine and into your stomach. But we're gonna place the exact same tube in the exact same spot." And then I called up the surgeon, and he said that it would be in my best interest not to use it. And I was like, then what? Why did you put it inside of me if I can't use it? Like, feel like I have some kind of foreign object in my stomach. Because I'm like, if it's not there to feed me, how am I supposed to get nutrition? And then also, like, what was the fucking point? Like, just take me out of surgery, close it up, we'll call it a day for a minute, and just like move on. But yeah.
Are you comfortable sharing the story behind why you have a feeding tube? Because I was not able to learn anything about that.
Yeah. So I actually want to do like a more thorough video on this as well, because it wasn't something that I had thought that the reason was different than it was. So for backstory, I went in for genetic testing, and I actually have EDS, so Ehlers-Danlos hypermobility type. So I thought that that was why my stomach is paralyzed. It's not, but it is linked to my heart condition as well. So both those issues are actually from my childhood PTSD. So when people say that there's like no trauma, there's no abuse that happened in my life, like I'm just making this all up. I would like to know how my stomach and autonomic nervous system just shut down then. Because the reason that my doctor was able to pinpoint that my stomach had shut down and that my heart issue were connected was because I have had documented cases of like child issues, basically. So he had said that when the body is in PTSD, flight or fight mode for too long, it basically just starts to shut things off. And my
Like non-essential functions,
yeah,
basically.
yeah. So my body is especially as of late, too worried about what's happening to digest food. So
Wow.
yeah. So that's a rather extreme end of what can happen as a result of trauma. And it's not very well documented at the moment. They actually said, because I got tested in Seattle, they were like, well, we have some research programs going on right now, and you'd be a really good candidate because of your DID. And I almost want to call them back up and be like, is it paid? Because I'll do it if it's paid.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm scared of doctors. I don't like being made a lab or everything. But maybe if they paid me,
Oh,
maybe.
oh, trust. Like I get that 100%. Like I'm not against medication at all. Because I know that like being an abuse advocate, I should talk about the mental health side. But I don't. I'm not for medication. I've been off of medication now for 6 months, and they say that like if you go off, especially the medications that I was on, you'll just like go off the rails. And I'm like, it didn't happen.
I mean,
And
a
I was
lot of it
under,
comes down to personal choice. You can choose whether or not you go
yeah,
off the rails to some extent.
yeah. It
Uh,
takes some mindfulness. You just learn different skills, and honestly, like at this point, I don't know if I would want to go back on. Like there's certain medications that I miss because they helped me function a little bit easier. But at the same time, I don't like the ability that if something happens to my insurance or if I lose my coverage of like a doctor that I can't get that med field. I just like I don't like
mhm.
being dependent on something, especially now that I'm in recovery. I'm like, no, I don't like that feeling.
That makes sense. I'm not in recovery, but I still don't like taking medications from doctors and things like that. I
Yeah.
don't trust it a lot of times. And I feel like a lot of times they give you things to make you an addict for them, like is them as your dealer essentially.
Yeah. My drug dealer was a doctor. That's a
Yeah,
song quote. That's not actually my story. But yeah. Do we
yeah.
have do we have any other questions?
I think
And
we
you
do.
can yeah, you can feel free to You are kind of in charge. I don't have anything going on tonight, so it can be a long stream. We can end it relatively soon. I'm not picky.
That's fine. I plan to keep talking as long as we have stuff to talk about. I mean, we still have one topic that I know is going to take a long time. It's going to confuse everybody. So we'll get to that one.
Okay.
Another question. Does a person with DID experience different dreams from someone who doesn't have DID?
So there's actually a YouTuber that if you want like this covered more in depth, it's Dissociated. I can comment the people that I'm referencing once this video is up, just because I don't want to multitask at the moment. But Dissociated actually talks about dreaming and what that process is like for them in particular. For me, it's really interesting. I tend to switch a lot overnight. So like if I go to bed, sometimes it's Corey that wakes up. And that's just like normal. It's always disorienting. Even if it's me, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, did I miss like 3 days again, or was I just sleeping? So that's always it's always really interesting because you're never quite sure if you're like dating me, who you're gonna wake up to. And like that, I've been open in most of my relationships about it. And one of my exes in particular, he's really the best when it comes to dealing with the alters and stuff. Like he's actually really good friends with Corey, and Corey will get mad if she's out and he's like aware that Corey's here, and he won't text back because she's like, "Oh, I see how it is. You just like Muse because Muse likes you, and I'm just a friend."
Intimidate people, maybe. I don't know.
What? Was I getting switchy? Huh? I was just talking Corey. She's not here.
What kind of dog is that?
So this is a pit bull, a little tiny one right now.
Oh, mine are actually well, basically I've got the pit bull English bulldog mix. I've got the father, which is a Yorkie poodle. Okay, and all of my other three are their children.
Oh.
And they are freakiest. Well, I said one, and now they're coming. So hold on. Sit down, Miss Lucy.
Yeah. What's up? What's up?
They're some freaky looking animals. They look like poodles, but with massive skulls and huge teeth.
Yeah, I would imagine that they would. I've seen one of them in like the bottom of your videos, but the YouTube schizophrenic covers it up partly, so I couldn't tell what breed. I just knew that there was a dog at one of them, and I was like, "Oh, puppy."
Yeah. One of my dogs in the middle of one of my cuts comes up and tries to kiss me on the face. I just left it in there. Screw it. It didn't break. I didn't break my line. I just left it in. Screw it. Let the dog make a cameo.
Yeah. Yeah, I like not doing the adult entertainment stuff because then she doesn't. My last dog wasn't kenneled, and that was the issue that arose is that service dogs get really needy. They're like always pretty much like velcroed to you, and we train them and condition them to be that way. But when you are trying to do adult things on the internet, you don't want somebody just ruining the cam show.
Yeah, it makes sense. I've heard of people getting like banned for like someone accidentally opening the door and things like that. They're worse than Twitch over there in terms of banning people.
Yeah, 100%. Like you can't even have a male voice in the background on some sites because they will deem that somebody is watching you. And a lot of sites have a no men policy. You're so chompy.
Yeah, I don't know if you know what Twitch is at all. Like game. Yeah, they ban you for all sorts of things over there. If you puke on stream accidentally, you will be banned.
Like, oh, I could never then.
Yeah. I mean, there's a girl I watch over there with Tourette's or whatever. I'm surprised she hasn't been banned yet. Some of the things she gets away with saying.
Yeah, people have wanted me to, and when I get my webcam back from where I was staying, I will be setting up my Twitch again and streaming Overwatch because I play Overwatch with a touchpad, and people are always like, "How the fuck?" when I tell them because I get
Tracer, right. That's how you kill everybody.
No, I'm a diva main. Yeah, and people are always like, "But how?" And I was like, I don't know. I like the extra challenge level. Like when I first started playing Overwatch, I actually had a mouse and I had a gaming computer, but now I'm not even on a gaming computer. Sometimes it will glitch, and I think it's like another element of challenge because like instead of having the other players on like disabled mode or like handicapped mode, it's like an extra level of challenge, and I'm like, yeah, get wrecked.
Yeah, I actually used to play Overwatch quite a bit. I was a Bastion player because I'm just like an asshole who wants to sit in corners and kill people. But
Yeah.
I actually stopped playing Overwatch because I just there were games where I would play and there would be 2 tracers and they just kill me over and over and over, and that would
Ugh.
happen every game. 2 tracers.
And competitive or
I don't play
how?
competitive.
Okay.
Competitive is I think competitive at one point lets you have multiples of the same character. I think they got rid of that because it was absurd.
You get your mouse stuck in there. Don't do that. She tries
But
to eat her clothes off and then gets her jaw stuck in her harness. And I'm like, that wasn't an intelligent choice. Like, you're normally very smart.
yeah, my dogs are fairly smart, but they still get tangled in cords, and they haven't
Yep.
saved my computer from being just broke many a time. But
Um, um,
let's see if there's any questions.
yeah.
I
What's
think there
going
is.
on, people? I see some of my people in the chat. Hi, Cody.
Oh, everybody is showing up.
Hey, knock it off. I will take it off if you want it off.
What do your alters think of Deity?
Uh, that's a loaded one. Corey also thinks that I was too trusting when it came to Deity. Corey still has, and she's agreeing with me, is the attribute of like, Muse, you're dumb. Like that used to be like her role when she was a part of the Unholy Trinity, was she would just like constantly berate me and be like, you're a piece of shit. Like, why do you make these choices? Like, you could stay safe if you wouldn't engage in stupid shit. And like I agree now. But yeah, so that's kind of Corey's opinion. I personally, like, when I had said that I hope that Deity gets help, like professional help, if that's what he apparently needs, like I mean it. I would like him to get help. That way he stops using the internet as therapy, because I don't think that that's healthy. You can use it for cognitive processing. Like if you're processing something after processing it with a therapist, go ahead. I don't see any harm in that.
Something else I don't think is healthy is people trying to give therapy over the internet, which I
Yeah,
feel
no.
like people have done on YouTube before, and those have horror stories that you can find.
You really should never try and do that, because there's so much freaking harm that can come from it.
Exactly.
What are you doing?
And to loop it back around to what I was saying earlier, especially when the person you're sharing it with is angry at you, well, then use it against you.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, I was too trusting of him. No one else really interacted with him, because I don't know, up until things kind of hit the fan with like the Deity situation, I was more quiet about my DID, and like Corey was the only one who had also come in front. And there's a video that I'm gonna unprivate here soon of another alter named Mason. And he's not the only male identified alter, but like for a while he was. And he was ranting about how the room wasn't clean and things of that nature. And you can kind of tell he has like a different type of attitude than Corey, but him and Corey are like best friends. So yeah.
Is he like a good one, not part of the Unholy Trinity, or?
Yeah, no, he's a good one. He's like the primary physical protector of the system. So like if things ever get really, really violent, he normally steps out. Um,
Is he a
and
better
he's,
fighter?
yeah, I mean, like Corey's scrappy, but Mason's like more, Mason has memories from when I was in Taekwondo. So
Oh,
yeah.
I've done a little bit of karate. I don't really. I wanted to do something like Brazilian jiu-jitsu, but I'm not cool with being choked out.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I used to be, but now it triggers my POTS episode, because the nerve that you press on is the same one that people used for carotid play.
Yeah.
So I can't do any of that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily have any trauma related to it, but when someone, puts their hands on my throat, I'm ready to kill. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So I'd have to get used to that, and I'd actually have to accept being choked out over and over and over again while you learn. So that's basically what it is.
Yeah. You want to come back up? You gonna join the party again? Ready? There you go.
There was some more questions. That was a good question. I like that one.
Yeah, your chat's pretty fun and interactive. What are those eyes about, huh? What are those eyes about?
Can alters disappear, like stop existing altogether?
Yeah, that would normally mean an integration or a dormancy period. But being dormant just means you're gone for a little bit. Like Skyla hadn't been here since 2009, I think is what she was saying, because when she was like co-fronting with Luna, Luna had to keep on telling her like, no, it's not 2009. So that's like an example of a dormancy versus an alter completely disappearing would be like the little that I had talked about previously that had integrated. So, wait.
Okay, well, now that we've got some people in here, let's scare them. Let's talk about Gang-Stalking.
Yes, gang-stalking. So that one's interesting. I have experienced, for a while, I thought they were just like abnormal events. I don't believe personally that mine is like one organization. I believe that well, if the cult ever somehow found me, then I would say that it would be an organization. But to the best of my knowledge, they have not. Back then, they weren't very tech savvy, so I don't think that they have that capability to go back through like any type of log or anything like that. And that's another reason why I don't use the body's name on any social media and haven't since I was very, very young. But I've been through human trafficking incidents, and that one was a lot. Being homeless, you really, really have to be careful because even things like a job opportunity can turn into some pretty crazy stalking occurrences. I also think that I heavily identify as a targeted individual because seemingly no matter where I go, whether it be different websites or um, like different states, like I always have these really weird occurrences that they don't make sense. And I don't know if I believe that there's some type of like bigger entity that keeps track of like who goes where or what, but it's very interesting as a concept to think about because of like some of it has to be connected. Like the
Yeah,
amount of weird shit that has happened in my lifetime, it's just so bizarre.
yeah. And if you look on the internet, a lot of people say they've seen similar things. We can't all be crazy, as they say.
Yeah.
And the problem is you go to a psychiatrist, at least in my case, you go to a psychiatrist and you tell them the government is watching you and harassing you. They
Yeah.
declare you suffering paranoid schizophrenic, and they try to give you medication.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to talk about like where your gang stalking really began, but I'll tell you mine if you
Yeah,
want.
you can go first and then I will start from like the beginning, starting with like the cult activity and then move to like present day stuff. Because I've also directly dealt with the FBI now, and the way that they handled my case makes me feel very suspicious.
Yeah.
So
Well, mine personally began. I was what you would call a hacktivist.
okay.
You ever heard that term?
So you hacked into things online?
Yes. Yes.
Gotcha.
And I had a purpose. I was very self-righteous about it. And basically, I got caught. I know I got caught. I was booted. I didn't have time to delete the logs. I was caught. There was no reason I should not be in jail. I was
Yeah.
waiting. I waited and I waited. They never came. And then, yeah, it's funny. I know. Then, all of a sudden, there are these vans always parked outside my house. Now, I didn't think anything of it at first. Certainly, you know, stands. Okay. And then it was weird shit. Like a bunch of red cars always parked outside my job. Like red cars, I had never been there before, but always just a row of red cars just put there. Okay, I know I sound fucking insane. Give me a minute.
You're good. I'm not gonna judge until you're full stop, man.
Okay. And then they do. You have you ever heard the term brighting? It's where people
Corey
shine
says maybe.
it's where they shine their high beams at you intentionally to fuck with you. Okay, that started a lot. It was through my windows, at me. Okay, just walking down the street constantly, and it would happen over and over again. Especially when it was dark outside and I was having issues seeing as it was. They would do it. Okay, then it was helicopters flying over my house over and over again. None of this had happened prior to this. This is all new behavior.
Yeah.
Then, once the helicopter started going over, they started to get really persistent on times where I was actually getting close to sleeping because I don't sleep much. I've said that before in my videos. I stay up for days sometimes.
Okay.
So, eventually, I'd get to a point like, what the hell is going on? Or I'd be driving, and then every car around me would be really slow on purpose, especially when I was late. And this would happen over and over again. Okay? And you go online, and you can find out lots of other people have the same thing. Okay?
That one targeted angel girl, I relate a lot to the stuff that she posts. I'm like, oh wait, that wasn't a normal thing. Like,
yeah, exactly. So it comes to a point where you have to think that there is a collective conspiracy to fuck with you.
Yeah.
Okay. And then if you go online and see these thousands of other people with similar experiences, the government has to be aware. Okay.
Yeah.
The United Nations has to be aware at this point. Okay. I don't know if you know anything about MK Ultra.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's part of the programming system.
Yeah.
I had a incident in the mental hospital because I've been hospitalized multiple times, and that's something I'm actually in the middle of scripting as well. Where I had this memory come up of a bunch of like papers stacked around, and I remember reading one of them as a child. And this is like one of the few memories that I have from being a child of it said Dr. Greenbaum. And then when I got out, I looked what that meant up and its connection to MK Ultra. And I was like, oh fuck.
I am of the firm belief that MK Ultra didn't end. It went underground. And basically anyone that fucks with them, anyone they think knows too much, anyone they just want to fuck with in general for psychological war games, I think they implemented on other people in other countries and things like that against each other. I think that MK Ultra 2.0 is what targeted individuals experience.
Yeah. So. I agree with that.
Yeah, and I think they just pick and choose people either as children. Perhaps you know, and your cult thing could be related to that. I don't know.
Yeah, they did use the same type of tactics. I do know that for a fact. So that's one of the interesting parts of it is that somebody had actually asked me on Twitter today if I knew what cult it was. Like, because a lot of things have came out recently about more organized religions, but like the things that they were practicing were not typical religions. Like even Wicca and paganism would not consider these good or just acts to do. Acts of like child abuse, acts of
did you watch the globalist video by any chance?
I watched part of it. Corey has not seen any of it, and she's mad because she's like, damn it, I'm gonna have to watch it from the beginning.
A big part of that video, especially near the end, has to do with the idea of globalist pedophile cults, where there's a long rumored thing that's been leaked by many people that the elite of society, the globalists, do believe that by ritually sacrificing molested kids, they can achieve immortality, essentially.
Yeah, there's a lot of the only documentaries that I closely relate to, and I will watch them sometimes to try and like there's a couple parts that I know holds more sinister memories, so I'll try and intentionally trigger them out to see if they're ready to talk about anything. And normally it's stuff I don't know if you know of, her name was Katie Groves on YouTube, but now it's Dylan Groves. She has DID, but she was actually, her parents were in the CIA. So she was a part of what was known as Uncle Sam's Snuff Factory. And it was a childhood pedophilia ring that basically there was also acts of cannibalism involved in it.
Mm.
Um, it's really interesting stuff. And just as of a while ago, somebody had montaged a bunch of clips together that basically show that the news was actually talking about what Katie Groves went through. And it's been proven they've located the base that Katie was talking about. And it's quite terrifying because it mimics a lot of the stuff that I went through in Eastern Washington. And it's just like a whole different like level of stuff that like most YouTubers, most people in general, they don't want to hear about or acknowledge that it happens. But yeah, it's a lot.
I mean, the thing is that, I don't know if you Peter Scully is, if you're familiar with that name, the
Scully
Dahu
some.
Love. It,
Give me some background.
okay, Peter Scully. Well, the original video was called Daisy's Destruction. Another one, Dahu Love. These were like internet
Okay.
legends. Okay, like have you ever heard the stories of Red Rooms where they tortured babies and shit like that, raped them for like an audience who can donate bitcoins and things like that for their
Yeah.
amusement? Okay, a lot of those are fake. This was an actual one, like a real one.
Yeah.
And he was the guy running it. And for the longest time, all of these horrible things were just internet rumors. There's no way these things could be true. And then the dude's in prison now for it. I mean, he has children of his own. He's like a completely normal life, and he was getting a partner and bashing babies' heads together on camera.
Yep.
Like, it's just insane the stuff that goes on. And I see someone in the chat mentioning Scientology, and that's another thing about gang stalking. So a lot of people think they're being pursued by the Church of Scientology. Like a lot of women say they're being used as breeders for the Church of Scientology. I don't know if you know
Yeah.
anything about that.
Well, breeders is actually a really interesting term. I have some aversion to it when it's used within a BDSM context because that was essentially the role that I was assigned as well. However, I don't believe that I was involved in a Scientology cult, but I haven't looked too much into Scientology as a whole.
When I say the term breeder, I mean like eugenics, that kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, I don't mean like I don't know anything about BDSM unless it intimidates me.
Yeah, so basically for my context without the BDSM saying for breeding was just basically like how you breed dogs. Like so your primary purpose is to have babies and they belong to not even
Well,
necessarily you. It's more so what I know as the green cloaks. And the green cloaks were like the original bloodline. However, I have some alters that are Green Cloak family members, and they're the only ones who don't really see my family as their biological family.
interesting.
Yeah.
So they have a different biological family, I guess. Is it
Yeah.
like within the inner world?
Yeah. Yeah, from what I know of it, that's I don't know though if they are there's fictives and factives within DID. So a fictive would be it could be like somebody from the Marvel movies or something like that, and the brain will create that because they believe that that's what will help them survive in that moment. Versus a factive can actually be a manifestation of your abuser in your mind. So you never really leave that abuse. And I think
Like a
personally,
permanent nightmare, right?
yeah, I think personally that Claire and Olive's family bloodline is actually the bloodline of the Green Cloaks originally. And somehow that was instilled into like the deep depths of my psyche.
Wow. So the people within your inner world, because I know I was watching that video back. You said something about how one of your alters has like a girlfriend within the inner world. Now, is everyone in the inner world an alter? Is like do you have NPCs essentially?
Yeah. There's NPCs as well. There's more information on NPCs out now. We don't have very many. It's weird. Corey still works at a strip club in the inner world. So sometimes sometimes I won't be able to get her to the front because she's literally in the city. She's like hustling, she's like doing her thing. But there's actual patrons that she has regulars inside that like she's like, oh, I can't front that day. I've got so and so coming into the club, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Working here.
Yeah, I need you now.
Wow. Yeah, it's imagine getting blowed off by your own split personality.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Like, is your inner world like connected? Is it like a road, or is it like in bits and pieces, like little mini rooms?
It's I don't personally have recollection of going to the city. There's occasional times like during drug use where like I would dissociate so hard that I would be in the city, but the city for me mimics Seattle of when I lived there. So like if something changes in the outer world Seattle and I don't know about it, it doesn't really change in the inner world. But I haven't had an instance of going to the city since like I had a scare with cocaine and I pretty much almost OD'd. But I went into the inner world even though I was still here, and basically no one was in the body. And I thought that I was shaking and cold in like a doorway area of where I had seen in Seattle once before. That like there was normally homeless people there. But in the inner world, I was there and I was ODing, but I was also ODing in real life. It was very bizarre.
Yeah, it's definitely some weird brain chemistry going on there.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, I mean, you talk about people when they're like near death, seeing like a bright light. You know, I don't know if that was like your version of that or
Yeah,
something.
I think so, honestly, because like trauma brain, I think processes near death experiences a little bit differently. Because I've had I've had close calls, but I think that the OD was really the only thing that was like very, very close to a near death experience. So, and
Yeah,
that's another reason why I don't do that shit anymore.
yeah. I'd scare you off of it.
Yeah. I mean, it took years after that incident too. I was still very hooked on my method of coping of just like being stoned all the time and not really giving a fuck.
Man, we're talking about me. So, yeah. And the closest thing I've had to a near death experience is repeated drownings. So
Oh yeah,
I don't do water anymore.
yeah.
Yeah, if I have to flee onto a boat, I'm gonna be hiding below deck.
Do we have anything? Are we missing
Oh
anything in
yeah.
the comments? If you guys have
Uh,
something, let us know because we're still.
it's a good thing you're here because I just ignore chat the whole time. I have a habit of doing that.
I know that somebody had asked if we had covered the deity thing, and I think we pretty much covered it. Like,
Yeah. You said you were going to tell your gang-stalking story from the beginning because I'm interested in hearing yours. I already sound like a crazy person.
okay, let me ground. Hold on. I tend to like these vapes better because just now there was a little bit of a micro switch. I don't know if you caught on to that, but I lost vision for a second, and Corey was reading the comments and was like, "I think there was something about deity." Um, but I use e-cigarettes because they have flavor, and flavor is a lot more grounding, and I can do it indoors. So,
Yeah.
um, the gang stalking. So, I had the cult incident. Um, so I had moved to Eastern Washington when I was around like 4 or 5, and my cognitive memories of what I personally remember don't start until I have a couple memories of when I was 7, but I'm pretty sure that's when I was like formed, because there was a domestic violence incident within my home. My mom was being cheated on, and my brother and sister's dad threw a pan through the wall. And that's my first memory. That's what I remember. And then suddenly I existed. So that was where my memory starts. I have little knowledge of what happened within the cult situation. So basically, fast forward to um, around the time that Skyla had like formally left, I had memories of there was somebody on MySpace who had contacted me saying that they knew where I lived and that if I didn't do everything that they said, that I would basically be abducted and I'd never see my family again. And I didn't know how to process this. And I went to school the next day and like talked to the on school police officer. And they were like, all right, well, we need you to pull up your MySpace and we're going to basically get the police here. They'll look and validate the messages and everything. And I was like, I deleted it. And they were like, that was the worst thing you could have possibly done. Like, there's no way of tracing him now. He could come get you at any time. Like, if you really did know where you lived. And that was like my first instance of like, what the fuck is going on? So I'm trying to think, trying to get it all in chronological order. I let's see. Was there anything between now and when I was an adult? I don't think there was anything now until I like left my mom's house. So fast forward to like I was out raving, I was doing like a bunch of crazy stuff. I was living with some people that I met through the raving community, and I had lost my housing for the very first time. And I was out on the street. I had this weird connection of I knew somebody that was in recovery, so I moved down there with them. That fell through, and then I was back on the streets of Seattle. I met this man, and this is covered more in lengthy detail if anyone wants like a more fresh memory of that. I did do a video about, I think it was like 2 years after, because it took me a while to think that I was going to be safe. And then I eventually saw this person again and wanted there to be video documented proof that this had happened to me in case I went missing. So I met this man as I was walking past a coffee shop. I was panhandling in downtown Seattle, and he offered me coffee and donuts at first. I came in, I got coffee and donuts. He was in the middle of what looked like a business meeting, so I kind of just like fucked off in my corner and was like, "Cool, thanks. I'm gonna go be over here." And he then, as I was walking out, was like, "Hey, do you want a job interview?" And I was like, "Yeah, I would love a job interview. I'm freaking homeless. I'm surprised that you want anything to do with me." And I should have saw that as a red flag. I was
Oh, yeah.
interviewed. I was interviewed by this woman who was very, very pretty, but also like weirdly cold. You know those people? Like I'm
Yeah.
almost convinced that she was a lizard person.
Yeah, the people that when you look into their eyes, you don't feel
There's
like something's
nothing
staring
there.
back at you. Yeah.
Yeah. So she did my interview process, and then I got the job as a social media representative for this company. And this company is still around, so I try and like withhold as much information as I can just in case they ever somehow do find me, because they knew a lot of information about me that I didn't tell them. And that was the creepy part for me, because like I have had a YouTube channel for a while, but I had one before this that they made me delete. So they had some prior knowledge of the fact that I it was an online adult entertainer. I had a YouTube channel. I don't think I had Twitter back then. I had Tumblr, and I had somebody who, the ex that I was talking about, that Corey gets mad if he doesn't text her back. And they basically made me say goodbye to all of that if I was to have this job. They also housed me in their office. So this was like a storefront office. So like they sold what they were selling out of the same place. So at night I would literally be locked in this office with like, it wasn't at the time in like a single storefront. It was inside of a larger building. So when that alarm goes on, you can't leave. Like there's no chance of it. But at the time I was like, this is a lot more secure than even a shelter living or a tent. So I was like, I'm safe. I'm in my safe zone. Nobody can get in. And like when they do come in, all the lights come on. So I'll know. And I was apprehensive about deleting my social media and stuff, but I figured since, I did adult work, they probably didn't want it associated with their company. And they also knew that I am like in the BDSM lifestyle. There was like a process of grooming. So no, this is Muse currently speaking. These are all my memories as well. So if you're hearing Corey's voice, that's really interesting. But basically there was like a process of grooming in which they were like, oh, we don't know what exactly you're gonna do for a living situation here soon, because the guy wasn't the main boss. He wasn't the owner of the company. He was like the CEO. So they were trying to keep me hidden, trying to keep all my belongings hidden. Everything was hidden, and like so that there was like a mechanic area, the storefront, the main entryway, and then like the office that I was in, and then an entryway that had like it went into a more open corridor, and through that you could access a bathroom. So that's where I would like. There was a shower in there too, which I thought was really weird. But it was
Yeah.
kind of neat because like I didn't have to leave, and they slowly started paying for like all my food. They took me to get new clothes, and like I was super hyped about this because I was like, all right, I got like a housing situation and a
Yeah.
job, like, but I never received an official paycheck. And eventually they had said that they wanted to change my name and they needed my social security card and birth certificate to do it. And I had always wanted to change my name. So I was like, I'm semi on board with this. This is weird, but like, whatever. You're going to have my social anyways if I'm working with you. So I gave them that information. They even fingerprinted me for a background check. And like this is near the end of before I left. So they said that I'd have to say goodbye to the person that I've still never to this day given up on. They bought us a lodge, and in the video that I'm referencing, I hold up the card of where the lodge was because for the longest time, the only way that I could convince myself that any of this happened was by looking at that card. That was the only physical proof that I had. So they got me a lodge, and I remember taking like a really like hella nice bath. Like they had this like custom area where you could make your own bath salts, and like it was really neat. But like also, how the fuck are you affording all of this? So I ended up saying goodbye to him, and I lost it the very next day. There was something in my gut that said that I needed to go. So I left and I went to the hospital because I thought that that'd be the only place where they couldn't find me. Well, they found me.
Mm.
I had made it explicitly clear that I did not want anyone to know that I was at the hospital. And I get a text saying, oh, I know you're at Harborview. And I'm like, fuck, okay, I need to get out of here as soon as possible. I don't know what's going to happen.
Like somebody contacted them when you arrived or something?
Yeah. So I couldn't fucking trust anyone. And basically, I was running the streets of Seattle. I was jumping off of one bus and then onto another. And that was the night that I had tried methamphetamines for the first time because I needed something to keep me up. I didn't respond the typical way. I could sleep on it, but I didn't want to. And I didn't find that out until later, but I can sleep on it just fine. Corey, on the other hand, cannot. And that's something that we'll cover in a video that I've already edited. But I don't respond typically to uppers. I can sleep on them just fine. So that kind of concluded that adventure. They had offered me to come get my stuff, but I said no because I did not want to be like held against my will. The other things that I kind of missed in the middle of that, because it's kind of an emotional roller coaster, they were planning on doing this event that actually exists, but I'm convinced that if I would have went to Europe, that I wouldn't have came back. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that I didn't. But
There's a lot of stories about that, about young women being sent to Europe for a job or something like that, and then just going missing, especially Eastern Europe. That whole little former Soviet era seems to be very, very, very dangerous.
Yeah, so but that was like the biggest what the fuck episode. And then just like minor things like I can never just exist online. Like there's always somebody who like I'll put trust in and then it will really like flop in a way that I wasn't expecting to. And suddenly people will know way more information than they're supposed to. And like digital security is important and I should be more thorough with it.
Yes. Yes,
But
you should have randomly generated passwords. Very, very much
oh
so.
yeah,
You should be as paranoid as possible.
I have that. It's more so like people would know that I'm on certain sites when I hadn't made that knowledge like super public and they would like track it down on like just like
Like with
the
facial recognition or something.
yeah, so it's just super bizarre. And then like the incidents of like my cam being recorded and reposted have been really interesting too. It's it's been a hot mess, but yeah, so like that pretty much, other than like the most recent events, covers until present day, and like recent events are still too recent. So I have to wait and see if there's
Yeah,
anything that's going to come of that. But there has been reports filed and stuff of that nature.
yeah,
So
as there should be. But
yeah.
there's another question I see in the chat. How old are you?
So a lot of people either guess way older or way younger, especially depending on who's fronting. The body is 22. I identify with the body's age. So yeah.
Oh wow, you're actually about the same age as me.
Oh, okay. I don't know why I thought you were in your 30s.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that bad?
No, you just come off as like you're very intellectual and like your history knowledge goes like really far back. Like you know a lot of like good reference points for especially within the globalist video. There was a lot that you covered where I was like, wow, how old is he? Because he really knows his history.
When you're, have you ever heard the thing that we
It
sleep for
froze.
20 years of our life or something?
Oh no. Oh, we back, maybe? You're still
Yeah,
frozen. I can hear
you're kind
you.
of frozen for me.
There we go.
You're still kind of
Hopefully it didn't freeze on that.
like that for me, but we'll see. Hold on.
Okay.
Are we back?
Oh, you just froze again, but I'm still here, I think.
Hold on. Let me check the stream. Let me see who's the culprit
You're
here. Are
here
you
now.
spazzing out?
Yeah.
Or okay.
Who's doing it? We were just talking about people fucking with electronics remotely.
You're the one fucking up on the stream, apparently, but we'll figure it out. I'm sure we'll figure it out.
But yeah, so
I was gonna ask something I completely forgot. Oh, there is something I want to talk to you about because did you say on a stream that you were non-binary?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never met a non-binary person. I've looked into it. Oh, sorry.
I identify as non-binary. I was actually on testosterone at one point, but due to the nature of like most of my system is female, and now knowing that like I'm not the original part, like I feel kind of almost bad because like some of the female alters, like Luna's voice especially, is so high because I'll play audio on a live someday of what my voice used to sound like, but it used to be much higher. But
Higher?
yeah, a lot higher.
Wow.
Lot
I mean,
higher.
you already have a kind of a higher voice as it is. I mean, were you like a squeak toy or something?
Yeah, hold up. I'll get to a point in which I don't think any confidential information will play. Because I remember what the channel name is. It's still up on YouTube and it's from like 8 years ago.
Yeah. Oh, real quick, I remember what I was going to say earlier. Remember how you were asking? I know my historical things. You know how people say you sleep for 20 years of your life, basically, if you live for the average lifespan. Well, I don't sleep for more than maybe one day out of every 3 or 4. So I have lots of free time to read and all that stuff.
I see. So here's what my voice used to sound like. Can you hear that?
No, I do not.
Okay, hold on. Let me see. Okay, if you can't hear it, I will do a video soon of the voice comparison because it's uncanny. I sounded like a fucking fairy before.
Yeah. Well, I actually almost forgot about the non-binary thing. I'm sorry if I misgender you. I do that to everyone. I've talked about Kai before and used he and her within the same sentence. I'm horrible at it. My brain like short circuits.
I don't get mad about it, especially with the fact that I'm more femme presenting. Like, I used to give more of a shit. Like, it used to bother me a lot, but now I'm like, life is too short. Like, of the things
Yeah.
that I need to be worried about, my feeding tube is the highest priority. Housing is probably the second. So,
Yeah.
like, pronouns are like 182 at this point,
Yeah.
like on the
Most people
list.
aren't trying to be assholes. Most of us are just
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Um,
uh see someone freaking about reptilian globalists. That's good. Get the outrage going.
yes, fuck those reptilians.
Looking for questions. Sometimes the chat has questions.
Yeah, I wish there was a way that people could like submit them differently.
Yeah, I wish so too. That would be really good actually.
Do you remember back in the day? I've talked to other people and they didn't remember this, and I know for a fact I didn't make it up. But YouTube used to have like these chat rooms where you could play on one side, I think it was the left-hand side, a video, and you would input the URL that you wanted, and then it was like a chat feature, but it was like a private chat. So it could be like you and your buddy. It was me and my
Oh yeah,
cousin.
you could. There used to be private messaging on YouTube. That was you say YouTube
Yeah.
used to be social media. That was it. That was all I used, and they got rid of that. And I was like, oh okay, I have no friends.
Yeah, okay, I just lost all of them.
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
when they did that exactly, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I used to love that function because it was so cool to just like be able to chill and like listen to music because like the only thing that I think comes close was like an app called Rabbit or something like that, but I think they've gotten rid of that too. Um,
yeah. I remember. I think it was Skyla was in my stream saying that this has changed so much since 2009. I was like, oh, don't tell me. Don't
yeah.
remind.
Yeah, she's still in like so much of a culture shock. We're trying to like fill her in and update her before she like spends any consistent time out here because she would just be so
Yeah,
lost. Like
she's like
it's
Captain
like
America waking up.
yeah, pretty much. And it's like, what do you even like other than like journals? Like, there's not much I could provide to her. Like, there's so much that has happened.
Yeah,
And all of my journals are still in Georgia, or else I would just be like, here, have a day, read all the shit.
yeah. Yeah, the YouTube videos are actually good for that. If you like have memory
Yeah,
problems in general, actually, the
yeah.
videos are really good for that.
I was showing my roommate who we actually were dating the first time that I was homeless. I was showing them, I was like, hey, these are like some of like my pole dancing videos, and like here's what my old service dog used to look like. And like it's interesting for me because some of the things I remember very strongly filming, but other things I'm like, was that even me? Did I post that? Especially if there's no talking. I'm like, who made this? And I have to go in and I have to ask because I'm like, who's responsible for this? I like it. It's cool, but who did it?
Yeah,
um,
they're asking about the feeding tube again.
um,
We got
so
some new people joining.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine. So I have gastroparesis, which just basically means, for me, I believe that it started in my esophagus, because I can't swallow pills very well. Um, but I have paralyzation all the way down to my stomach, and it might actually go into my small intestine now, but that is as a result of childhood trauma. And I've confirmed that with the geneticist. It's not a part of the hypermobility disorder that I have. So
What
that's
is
the
what is,
short of it.
what is hypermobility exactly?
So if you have any body horror issues, I recommend that you look away for the next 5 seconds. I'm
Oh
going to cue
boy.
you in. 1, 2, 3. So that's an example of hypermobility. That's one of the tests that they do.
I don't know if you can see how far I can bend my
Yep.
fingers here.
I can't do that one very well. And they said that my joints are actually stiff due to trauma and they would be more loose. But my shoulders dislocate on the daily. I'm sleeping on an air mattress right now, and that's been a nightmare for my body. Um, But yeah, so pretty much all of my joints are hypermobile. They thought I had hip dysplasia on one of my hips, and they were debating doing a hip surgery. And it turns out no, it was just out of socket in the scan that they did.
Wow. Yeah.
And people ask me all the time, they're like, does it hurt? And I'm like, not really at this point. Like I didn't know
Yeah.
that it wasn't normal when I was a kid. Like I was in gymnastics too, apparently, and ballet. But that's stuff that I know through pictures, not memory.
Yeah. You said you don't have memories from your childhood personally because you're an
No,
author.
yeah. Nope, I don't have any of those, and I'm kind of glad, but it's also kind of shitty, and I think that's why I like to like age regress and like be kind of like taken care of and stuff. That's like the primary thing that I like in BDSM is like just that time to like be innocent and like I don't involve sex in it. Some people do, but I don't. Especially now because I'm out about being asexual. I don't I don't do the sexy times. We're not even sure if Corey would be able to without it causing me discomfort now that we're sober. But basically, Corey and Kate were primarily responsible for most of that activity because I have an opt out button and I select that one and I go back to the headspace.
Yeah.
Thank you to the host and hostess. You're welcome. Good night, everyone. Good night, LL.
Yeah. Love and lavender. Good night. But speaking of hyperflexation, ballet, and gymnastics and stuff, do you do anything like that now? Does it make use of your talents?
No, not now. Dancing, like pole dancing, was my adult passion. But I didn't have the ability to like really practice any of that stuff once I became an adult. So I kind of forgot about it. But like I do remember, like past the age of 7, I would spend a lot of time. I don't know how my family didn't know something was wrong with me. I'd spend a lot of time on the floor, like just contorting into like different positions just to see what I could do. And like that was like a favorite pastime of mine. But yeah, I liked pole dancing a lot. There's still some videos up on my channel of that because both Corey and I watch them when we get nostalgic. Um, there's something about the movement of like especially the spinning poles. It feels really nice on your body and joints. So it's like low exertion rate on the joints, but higher exertion on the muscles. And I enjoyed that. I can still do pull-ups. I found that out. I can do those still. I'm not
Yeah.
supposed to lift more than 15 pounds though, so
Mm.
I
Yeah.
can't do much with my feeding tube now. But I miss it. I also
Yeah.
used to work for Postmates, and I walked about 7 miles a day, just delivering
Yeah.
stuff on foot.
Are you stuck with that feeding tube permanently, or can you recover and all that?
No, so the doctor said that if I work proactively on not having further trauma, which is seemingly impossible when you're a TI, and
Mhm.
also like addressing past trauma, that I could prevent it like fully paralyzing my entire digestive tract, but there's no really recovering from it. Like I've tried every medication and like stomach medications are the worst because most of the time people don't tell you that they're also mixed with antipsychotics. And just I think it was Saturday the night that I was in the hospital, pretty sure. I got dosed with some of that stomach medication again, and I was like, oh my god, I feel like I'm gonna crawl out of my skin. It's freaking awful, and none of it does anything. So for
Yeah, and
me,
a lot of those antipsychotics pretty much wreck your body already. So
yeah,
probably
yeah,
best. Like I said, I don't like medications. So I think we've
yeah,
talked about that earlier. If people watching this back, I think someone asked earlier if I was keeping this up. Yeah, I generally don't private or delete anything unless there's like
yeah.
technical issues.
Yeah. And I mean, our glitch appears to be over. And if
Yeah.
you've watched almost 2 hours for this, like put like a 2 in the comments because I'm genuinely curious because I'm still just having a fun time. As soon as like
I'm
this,
having fun too.
yeah, as soon as Puppo says she needs to go out OUT, oh, I almost said it, OUT, then I will bounce. But right now she's just chilling. So
That's fine. But yeah, I've had a good time. We should definitely do this again. I'll go on your channel if you want. I mean, whatever.
yeah, it's interesting because like I have more subscribers, but your chat is so much more active than mine. And like even when I tell people like, "Hey, I'm going to be on at this time," it's like so quiet. Like there's normally like 6 people. I don't know how many are in this one currently, but yeah, normally it's like dead ass quiet. I'm like just kind of like
It's a
fucking
little
around.
weird. It's a little weird. I actually only been on YouTube making videos for like a month or so, and I've got other YouTubers talking to me. I've got I've got a lot of power with my little 200 subscriber YouTube channel. It seems it's really weird. I don't know why.
Yeah. Yeah, because you have 21 and normally I'm like happy if I have like 15 in my chat room. And it's funny to me as well because I have Patreon. I've had my channel for I think almost 4 years now, but I just hit 1K in January. And it was actually right before the New Year's Eve stream. And my name wasn't ever connected to that, I don't believe. I don't think that he actually said my name. So there was no way for that to like be a correlation.
No, I did hear something during that New Year's Eve stream about someone like one of someone related to RS Vincent was going off on. I think that may have been you, but I didn't even know you were specifically involved.
Yeah,
How
that
much
was me.
how much you want to talk about Vincent actually? Because now that I think about it, something did click in my head about Vincent and actual relation to you.
Yeah, so I'm open for that one. If he decides to do anything with my information, like at this point, I thought about false doxing myself. Like people have thought people have thought that my name was Winona, like biologically. It's not. That's just my Facebook name, so that's why the GoFundMe says Winona. And you can stalk my Facebook, like go ahead. I don't care. But yeah, so yeah, I'm open to that. He has a lot more information than people know about. I just can't talk about other people's survivor cases, basically, of the RSN people.
Oh, and here I'll link your YouTube channel too. That
Sweet.
way
Yeah,
people can go subscribe to
I
you
saw somebody asking, "What are you doing?"
if I can find you in my long list of subscriptions.
Yeah, it switched to Plurality Dolls, and there's like a underscore in between the two.
Yeah, I think switching the M to the P is what threw me off here because
Well, I was trying to throw other people off too because I'm
yeah.
tired of being like used as clickbait content of like, oh,
Well, I'm
so and
sorry for
so.
using it for clickbait content.
No, you're good. For this shit, I don't care because that's kind of a connected topic. But when people in general are watching other people's content and they're like, "Who the fuck is that?" I'm like, let's not. I don't need more of that. This shit, I don't care about though.
Yeah,
Um,
make sure I link to the right thing. God forbid. Yeah. All right. But yeah, definitely. If you want me to go on your channel at some point, I will.
yeah,
Sounds like
we'll have to plan more topics because I feel like the TI stuff is super interesting and I could definitely
yeah.
like
I don't.
the brighting thing, like I'm starting to think of how many times I've actually been brighted as well because there's been even it was the night that I came back from the hospital because it was dark. There was somebody and we had commented on it too. We were like, wow, that truck has his brights on for no fucking apparent reason. And it was
Yeah.
as he drove up to the car. He just flashed them on. And I was like, okay. But that I didn't know that that was a TI thing. I thought that that was just,
Yeah. If you look at the hashtags and like Targeted Angel posts a lot of that stuff too. If you like her,
yeah.
she'll post things like voice to skull technology. If you've ever heard of that, the
Yeah.
idea that
Oh, you can go. Sorry.
Okay, the idea that people who hear voices in their head are doing so because they've been implanted with a chip.
Yeah.
No, I don't hear voices. The only voice I hear is my own, but other people.
Yeah. I do worry about that kind of stuff. Like I didn't worry about it until they knew what hospital I was staying at. That was when I kind of was like, oh fuck, like could they like do something medically? But I have had so many procedures now that not so many. I've had 3 where I was completely under. And like it's unsettling because you don't know what's going on. Like the last thing that you remember is them saying, okay, count back from blank. And so the last 2 times they didn't even do that. I had I had asked my anesthesiologist when I first got the feeding tube placed. I was like, is that the anesthetic? And he goes, no, that's just fluids. And I read the bag and I'm like, that's it's not fluids, it's not potassium, it's not saline. What the fuck is that? And they put the oxygen on my mouth, and then I went like this, and then I just see my hand fall, and then I'm out, and I'm in recovery, and I'm like, you motherfucker lied to me.
Mm, yeah,
um, but they knew I was getting anxious too. I was like, I don't know about this.
yeah,
So
yeah. So they did it without even like. Do you have like a thing in your file that says like you're in recovery or anything or?
oh yeah, yeah. I don't take narcotics after procedures, and a lot of people are like, "How the hell do you do that?" It's the same way that I got my chest tattooed the night before I had my feeding tube surgery. I have an incredibly high pain tolerance, so I don't really need narcotics. And I'm not super into painkillers. Corey likes them, but they're not my cup of tea, so we just refuse them and don't get any prescription for them.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean a lot of people are
so
like,
So who is Peanut Gallery? Because the Peanut Gallery that I used to know is off of YouTube now. And they were the DID system that I knew of. But they were also TI. So somebody has taken that name, but it was spelt differently. It's very interesting. I've seen Peanut Gallery pop up before in
I
other
think
chats.
I've heard that name before. I know that Deity has a problem with him too. I mean, God
Okay,
forbid.
it's a man.
I don't know actually. I
Okay,
don't. I've never been to their channel, so
interesting.
them.
I'll have to do some research because
Yeah,
hi. Yeah, the first person that I knew that had DID used that name, and they've completely deleted like all socials. I think I still have them on Instagram, but that's it. But
yeah,
that's because their stalkers will find them no matter what.
yeah. Well, I'm sure someone in the chat will tell us about Peanut Gallery because I've heard that name before. I think I've heard Roger mention it. I've heard it mentioned to Deity because I guess they pissed Deity off. Everyone's pissing Deity off.
It's not hard to. I had made a joke to Felicia. I was like, "Yeah, it's Dee worst nightmare. Me and YouTube schizophrenic are getting together to talk
Oh,
shit and pass the ball around."
oh yeah, I'm sure he's having a meltdown to his cat as we speak.
We're not even saying anything mean though. Nope.
No, I think we've covered him for what, maybe 10, 20 minutes of a 2 hour stream, but that's enough.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Hello.
Oh,
It's
he is a commentary channel, so it's a guy. Oh no, it's a girl. Oh, never mind. He just corrected, or they just
yeah,
corrected themselves.
Trissa is saying that it's a girl. Interesting. They just changed the spelling of it. Now I feel bad if I've just like outed them again, but the spelling was different. So it's just Peanut Gallery. I'm gonna go investigate real quick. I'm
Worst
still
name
listening. Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Because I know who used to have that
Maybe they've
URL.
been compromised by the globalists. Could
Yeah,
happen.
is it John's Peanut Gallery? Because that's the only person that's popping up.
I
And they
think
do,
so, actually. Now that I
yeah.
think about it, yeah, I think that's the person they're referring to.
Okay, that's a different Peanut Gallery because that looks nothing
Okay.
like her. Interesting. Very interesting. Oh yeah, I don't understand. I will never be a commentary channel because I just don't give a fuck enough. Like I don't care what other people are doing really, unless it doesn't if it involves me, then it's different. But like otherwise, like you go fuck off in your corner, I'll go fuck off in my corner unless we have something in
Yeah.
common in lab.
I might want to lay off the commentary. Apparently, I make people fear for their families and everything. It causes mental breakdowns in Navy veterans.
Yeah, that stuff is just wild.
Yeah, I
So
don't.
what was somebody said in my comment section, and they ended up pissing me off. So like I don't normally delete comments unless they're just like going on a tangent, and I'm like, you're gonna continue to notify me, but if I delete your entire thread, maybe you'll get it through your head that I don't give a fuck. But somebody was saying that you apparently did something really bad to Deity, and like you made him and his sister worried, and I'm like, honestly don't even know what was the beef between you two because I only found out about you when you were on the Holly Undead stream when my Craigslist ad was posted, which is
Yeah,
why I had to move, like suddenly too. Hi.
yeah. And just to clarify, I don't know if you were there for the whole thing or you got the specifics. Yeah, Holly was not the one who showed it.
Yeah, no, it was Greg. I know that.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and I don't blame Holly for it. I blame her for it if it's still up, but like, the main thing was like I I know that he knows that the city was mentioned, and like when I went to post that ad too, I was like, I probably should put like a different city, but then like it's gonna ruin who can come get her and like where I have to drive to. So I was like, I'll just put where I was at. And I regret doing that because there was a little voice in my head that was like, don't do it.
Yeah. The my advice next time is maybe don't put your medical supplies. That's probably what gave you away.
Yeah, it's interesting because none of that had my name on it or anything. It was a photo that was used on a YouTube video thumbnail.
I mean,
So
if it was just the dog, they probably would not have been able to put two and two together. But
yeah,
it's the medical supplies. It's like, oh, well, we know who that is.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
'cause I
really
even
that
think I
they're.
said something about that in the stream. Like, why are the feeding tubes there? Yeah,
It was from my packing video. I took that I either took that photo for a thumbnail or I took it and forgot to use it as a thumbnail. But it was to show how to pack basically a month's supply of feeding tube formula and how to do that safely because it was a fucking nightmare. Yeah, it
it's a
was
very specific video that's going to help at least a couple people, I'm sure.
yeah, it was I think 65 pounds when I got to Chicago. And they were like, this is oversized. You need to fucking take this shit out. And then they were like, what is it? Like, and I'm like, it's feeding tube supplies. And they were like, is this even allowed? And I was like, it's medical supplies. Like, it's not bomb material. Like,
Oh God, TSA.
yeah. Oh, and that was Amtrak too. It wasn't even TSA. You're
Oh,
very chompy, ma'am.
if it was TSA, they'd have you in a corner, stripping down like you are a terrorist.
Yep.
Across the border. So
You guys got any we're hitting the lull. You got any I was in
yeah.
Chicago briefly, the bunny. I was traveling through to Georgia from Seattle. So yes, nom 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 nom.
So what all different states have you been in? I mean, have you left the country or just
No, I have not left the country. And you're not US based, are you? You don't
I
have
was going my location freely?
okay. Gotcha. You're
Maybe I'll
good.
tell you privately one day.
Yeah, you're good. I respect that decision. I mean, hell, if I wouldn't have been saying that I was traveling back here for my insurance, then I probably would have said I had talked to my roommate about it. I was like, I should tell people that I'm in Canada. That way they just can't fuck with me.
Yeah.
So yeah. But I've traveled across the entire United States on train. It was a 4-day trip, so I've technically stopped in a lot of places, but I've only been to and stayed in consistently Washington, California, and Georgia. Yes, hi. Yes, hi. What? You
Yeah,
like?
uh, I mean, I don't know if you like went to any touristy areas in those places, or you were just drifting through. But I always like to at least try to enjoy some of the cultural places where I go.
Yeah, I was in like
Breaking up a little bit.
oh I was in the LA
You still
area.
there?
Yeah.
Okay, you're out of sync right now for me. I don't know. Let me check the stream.
Okay.
Maybe
Just
I
happened.
broke.
Yeah. No, I can still hear you, so that's weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hey, calm down. Um, yeah, so I was in the LA area, not proper, but I did stop into LA. I didn't spend any time in Atlanta. But I fucking love Seattle. And I've been open about it on Twitter. I do plan on panhandling next week in Seattle, even with the coronavirus. I'm like, I mean, they've already asked me 80 bajillion times every time that I have a medical appointment if I have any symptoms of the coronavirus. So if any pop up, I know what they are now. Uh,
Yeah. Wear a mask at least. If anything,
yeah,
wearing a mask might get you some more sympathy, extra money. Possibly.
yeah. I mean, and it helps to have a dog. A lot of people
Oh
make a
yeah.
little bit more if they have a puppo. So she'll be coming up. It'll be just like a small day trip, and then we'll be coming back here.
You go
So
full combo, learn how to play the guitar.
I used to do ASL, so I would sign to songs because I can't sing. I can't play an instrument, but people really liked that I was creative and I would use American Sign Language to panhandle. So I would have my headphones in and I'd be signing, and like some people probably thought I was on drugs, but I wasn't. I've always been sober when I've been homeless, which
Yeah,
is so opposite.
you're like a deaf. They probably thought you were like some deaf rapper who was like dropping some beats.
Yeah, I'm in for it.
Yeah.
That'd be legit.
I mean,
Um,
if you're gonna, I think the panhandlers are very creative with some of their gimmicks they come up with too.
yeah, and I don't mind it. Like it's a good way to meet people.
Yeah,
Um, as
as long
long
as
as
you
you're
don't
not
sit there with
getting
a
trafficked.
yeah, yeah, that. As long as you're not sitting there with a cup game scamming people, it's
Yeah,
cool.
no, no, fuck that.
Yeah,
I've actually never seen anyone play like games in Seattle for money. I think there might be some type of regulation against it. There's none against panhandling because there's so many of us, it would be really hard to stop
yeah.
it.
There's a really
Uh,
weird thing I've noticed where you've got these people. At least I've seen this in a few areas where they dress up as like Disney characters, and then
yeah,
they're like, "We'll give you pictures for money," and they're like breaking copyright law and everything else by doing that.
yeah, the
Very
amazing thing that I've seen is there's this one woman who will paint her entire body and go stand in a vintage dress, and she just acts like a statue, and then you can take photos with her and stuff, but she doesn't move unless you like interact with her. And sometimes still she'll just stay completely poised. And I'm like, it's so pretty, but it's a human. It's not an it.
yeah.
You're not
And
statue.
and clearly these people must be making some money, right? Because
Yeah.
they have all these elaborate costumes and they look professional. I mean, I would be fooled, but they're like basically a bunch of copyright infringers running around.
I know you like my makeup, but it has to stay on my face. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, we have new people here. Let's see if there's any questions.
Hi, Kanish.
Hey, Ganesh.
I only know of Kanish in passing as well.
He's another one who's had problems with deity.
Yep. And all that.
You get
And we had
compendium.
Trisha in here earlier too. The whole squad reunited.
Yeah, I have a lot of ex deity people in here. I know that.
Um, Anna, Nathan, I can teach you how to sign. Um, just hit me up.
Yeah. I mean, I talk with my hands like a little bit. I try to resist doing it on YouTube videos and stuff. So I don't know if that would be better or worse at sign language.
I mean, if you can correlate it to the words, I think it would be pretty good because I used to talk with my hands a lot as well. Hey, 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 hey! You're doing the chord thing. You are doing the chord thing. Not
Oh, I didn't know about that. Deity's mod girls doxed him in another YouTuber's Discord. Wow. He's threatened to dox people before. He has doxed his if you want to know what our big issue was that caused him to flip the fuck out on me. In a stream, he doxed his former employer and was encouraging his audience to, go after them, to call his manager and stuff like that.
Wow.
And I dared to mention. My logic was, okay, if he had done this to another YouTuber, I would reach out to them for comment. So I reached out to the Dollar General for comment. Sent an email. Of course, they were never going to get back to me. Of course, they
Yeah.
were never going to get back to me. But I wanted to send it so I could fuck with him. And apparently, he had a meltdown over it.
Well, I mean, if you put that information out to the public, you have to remember that there are going to be people that are trying to look out for whoever you're trying to harm. Like that's
Yeah.
just
At
and
that point, he was using his moderators to like go out and police other people's channels, looking for some of his viewers saying anything that was a little wrong. It's very Stalinistic. Yeah.
yeah, that's why like the idea of like owning your subscribers or owning people that you have connections with is so fucking creepy. Like I'm really not here for it. What's up, baby? I know. You want more attention. You can come back. Hi. You hear the friends out there, huh?
In a few years, he will piss off on another 7.3 billion people. Jesus.
The amount of subscribers that
Oh,
he's lost is like insane.
yeah, I noticed that. Something else too that I noticed in his apology video, he seemed to make it very clear that yes, he was a bottom, that he's not interested in any way. I was like, why are you sharing this?
Yeah. I'm like, me too, bud. So this is even more reason that this wouldn't work out. Also, I'm asexual, so now that the world
Yeah,
knows that, I don't think that I would engage, especially with you, for any encounters, consensual or non.
yeah. He's also a lot of people I think were taking him to task in his comment section about basically saying, well, just because you're a gay man and you're saying that doesn't mean you can't sexually assault people. And he was deleting those comments. I noticed he was not happy.
I just want everyone to know, and I've made public statements about it, that I was not assaulted by Deity. I will be the first to ratify that as not true. I did not start that, nor did I consent to that rumor being spreaded. It's very dumb. Um, where are you going, Wormy? Huh? Where are you
Yeah,
going?
and one of the weird like I said about him, using people's mental illnesses against them. You've said before you have like memory problems, right?
Yeah.
So when someone says something like that, that's got to fuck with you,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah. And I think that Corey had touched on that in the stream. And I did one, I think it was after surgery, and that's why I deleted it. But I remember I was like, I shouldn't keep this live stream up. I've switched a lot within it. I don't care about this live stream being up with like the switches that I've had, but I was just like, this is weird. I don't want it on the internet. But I was talking about accountability and the things that people could use against me.
Oh, I think I
And
watched that one actually
yeah, I think
before you
that
took
you
it
were
down.
in there. But yeah, so like that one was like super raw, and I was really open. Like I haven't been the best friend or best partner to people in the past, and like accountability is so important within like processing trauma, but also just personal growth. Like everyone can use with a dose of accountability, and I feel like that's why both Corey and I vibe with you, is because you do take accountability for like the things that you've done, and like you said straight up, like, yeah, I contacted Dollar General because they should fucking know if their information's being leaked to the internet. And also that means he doxed himself. Like he
Yeah.
literally, yeah, that's not considered doxing. And the fact that he wouldn't even tell me in the live stream that he was like going off, I was like, yeah, that guy was was it the same stream, because I only fast forwarded to where I was mentioned. And he goes, yeah, it was the same one. And I was like, what'd they say? And like, never got back to me ever. And I'm like, okay, well, it must
Mm-hmm.
have been pretty bad. But then he had told me that I needed to not talk to you or about you because he's trying to make a truce last. And I'm like,
Oh,
okay,
got to talk
okay,
about that truce thing.
yeah,
Okay, that lasted about all of 2 days, and he was making jokes saying, I saying posting something. I've just arrived in France. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to post this on my globalist Twitter account. 2 days, 2 days, and he's already taunting me. 2 days. Like, this guy's if I put his family in danger, he's so afraid of me. He's a glutton for punishment. Let me tell you.
yeah, no.
Oh,
Like people that respond in true fear and not like true victimized fear normally kind of shut the fuck up for a little bit about it. Like I took an entire week off of Twitter and YouTube when that whole fiasco had happened where he went on RSN's channel, because I was like, nope, that was some trauma. I need to stop trusting people so easily and like kind of put a guard up and like reflect. And I took that week to just really take care of myself, and it was good for me. Good for
Well,
me and the puppo.
I don't want to shit on RSN too much because, like, I'm friends with Holly, and me and him, as far as that, are on good terms. But I haven't gone on his channel for a reason. Okay, and the fact that he went on it was very surprising to me. Very surprising.
Yeah.
And Heavy Down has been on there twice, like recently. I entered the chat right as she was being interviewed by RSN today, and they said, "Hey, how's it going?" I'm glad I decided to tune in on a whim, and she freaked the fuck out, acting like she was afraid of me. And then I just asked, because she was crying about people giving her shit for her e-begging for her scooter thing, which I have never gave her crap for.
Yeah,
and I asked her, what made you so upset? And she was like, "Fuck you!" and screamed. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, no, I defended her on that as well on Twitter. I was like, no, like that's a legit thing to be worried about, because like I've had a wheelchair before, but it wasn't a powerized one, and I'd be devastated. I also don't want to bash RSN too much. Like if I could establish a treaty with him, I totally would. Because at this point, like I can't take any legal action. I'm ready to just kind of put it behind me, and that's why I haven't really touched on too much. Like I touched on the beginning of like how I asked for his assistance because he had a bigger channel than I did at the time. But in general, like I would like there to be peace, because it's been such a long journey, and like I'm not gonna admit that I kicked my dog, because that didn't happen.
Well, I found the video that they were referring to finally. It took me forever because this is like buried on the. I did find it, and it's like I was expecting something more. You know, it was like your face, and you know, if anything, look, you may have nudged the dog with your foot or something. It didn't look like you kicked anything.
There was a suitcase, the suitcase that I had mentioned, that was, it was 40 pounds was the weight limit that I could have in the suitcase. And then I had to purchase a box in Chicago, Chicago or DC. It was Chicago. I had to purchase a box to move the feeding tube supplies, and that suitcase still had everything in it. And I was trying to use it to barricade the office space so that she couldn't get in there. And I was nudging it with my foot because she was nudging it with her foot, and I was like, no, like I was pushing back on it, but I would never hurt any of my babies. I would never.
And just for clarification as well, I was not aware of any of that going into the stream. I didn't even know who you were. So
yeah,
I mean, that was our introduction, dog kicker. Yeah.
I jokingly on Deity's stream have like joked about, oh yeah, I'm the dog kicker girl, and then people in chat are like, what the fuck? And I'm like, no, it's a fucking joke, guys. Like if anyone knows anything about my background, especially within the cult abuse, like with Corey, that one hit Corey the hardest, because it was really, really a sore spot for her, because the amount of like abuse and torture that she's seen against animals through the cult, it really fucked her up for someone to accuse her of doing that, because there was some, trying to like get approval of the proper word to use to be discreet. It was either you will do this to this animal or I will do this to you. And Corey picked the I will do this to you every single time. So when that story went out, it was quite literally the worst thing that could have ever happened to Corey, because she had to relive every incident that she had seen, on top of like, since she didn't do that, that happened to the body. So
like, just out of curiosity, what was this? Like, I know you went on an interview with him, and I tried to find it, but I couldn't. I guess he's private or something.
It was
like,
I can give you a little
of your issue. Your source of issue with RSN, anyway.
So we didn't have an issue until I went on a Rags Reynolds video. But originally I had asked RSN for help because I had a very public, it went public, and then now it's all taken off the internet besides what I have up. But basically my abusers, he was my partner of 2 years. And he had assaulted me and kicked me out of my house at 5 in the morning. And his ex-girlfriend had at the time 70,000 subscribers. And she decided to do a video talking about how it was all of my fault because of the fact that I was engaging in the BDSM lifestyle and I should have known better. So I had asked for RSN's help, and our interview was so fucking good. And like, I wish that I would have like downloaded it before it got taken down, because I genuinely appreciated how he interviewed back then. I do think he's a good interviewer. I don't think that he has the best motives, and I think that he gets kind of vengeful, but I mean, so do I. So does Corey, especially. But I wouldn't make up something as fucked up as animal abuse to smite someone, basically.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
I wish he'd left the interview up, because it's easier to provide context, to actually learn things and all that. Like, I have a problem with people always privating and deleting things, especially important things like that. You know, if it was a good interview and there was nothing wrong with it, even if you have a falling out, leave it up. If you and me ever end up hating each other, this interview is being left up.
Awesome, sweet. Yeah. I even have I've left some things on the internet up that like are even from exes. Like it doesn't
Yeah,
really affect me unless they ask for the content to be removed. Like even there's intimate photos out there where like other people's bodies are involved, and I always clear it with them before posting. But like I have rights to content that involves other people, and they have the right to revoke the consent if they want to, but if they don't, I'm not going to take it down if they've given it. Um, that's it.
yeah. So,
Um, but yeah,
uh,
the interview was great. If he by happen, like if anyone is an RSN chat watcher, you can feel free to let him know that I liked the interview. I really appreciated what was done for me. It's more so there was a lot of emotional torture since November. And if he wants to call a truce, I would I would appreciate that. I'm
yeah,
trying to find housing right now, and I'd appreciate if people would stop trying to dox me. um,
yeah.
that'd be my favorite. Hi.
Yeah. Well, if the source of your issue was that you went on Rag Reynolds' channel, I guess that makes sense why he would have a problem with you. Because Rag Reynolds, I think, is like his arch nemesis. It seems like, just from what little
Yeah,
bit I've gathered, like
yeah.
they seem to not like each other.
Yeah, and at first I don't know if I still have the screenshots from back then, but I sent him I sent him a message originally saying, "Hey, like no one else is speaking out on behalf of like a positive experience with you. Is it okay if I do so?" And then I saw part 1 of the video go up, and I was like, "Oh shit, like I don't want to condone what happened to someone if that's what really happens." And like hearing the context, I was like, there's a lot of similarities to what happened with me, but my case also got dropped. So I didn't want to put another survivor in a position where they felt like somebody who had been through a similar thing was like, hey, no, fuck you. I'm going to stand with the person who had done that to you, because that was what Brittany Simon had done to me. So there was a lot of, and that's my ex's ex. There was a lot of like, reputation on the line if I had said that I enjoyed working with RSN. And up until that point, I did. Like, I still don't know what he's talking about in terms of sending him an intimate photo. I don't. I don't recall. And I had posted a video after he had made that claim on a Discord thing that I had gotten a hold of, because people really love leaking things, and I'm like, why, guys? Like, don't you have like day jobs? Don't you have like children or something that you should be doing besides just trying to gather information? Like, it's kind of creepy. But I had posted a video and I was like, Arson, I would never give you nudes for free. Like, my modeling photos, like, I put so much hard work into them. And I think the only thing that he could be referencing, it was supposed to be a censored image. And if he watches this, I'm sorry if it wasn't. That wasn't my intent. I never had any intent of getting with you. That was never an idea in my head. I've known that I've identified as asexual since I got sober. So I'm pretty much a lonely Pringle until I find somebody that can vibe with that. So that was never my intent ever. Nothing against you, your body type, your personality, anything like that. Just not personally willing to take any of those risks. So,
Yeah. Well, again, I haven't looked too much into RS, and probably better if I don't. But like I said, I've seen some of the things. Like I can't even. A lot of this is hard to talk about because a lot of it's scrubbed from the internet. Probably for the best. Like the whole the revenge porn stream where what's the quote? If you all keep disliking this video, I'm gonna do this every single day.
yeah.
Yeah. I can't even find the uncensored one of that, so I don't even know exactly what was shown. It's so hard to find anything these days.
It's not shown the way that it was uploaded to his channel because the censoring that was censoring was not censoring. So Rags didn't feel comfortable re-uploading that footage because it felt like he would be doing the same thing over again. But there is a portion of that stream in one of the videos in which that quote comes from.
I would honestly love to sit down and have a conversation with him that one day. You get his thought process. What possessed him to think that was a good idea?
I would love to know too, because like it is probably the most intimate thing you can do to especially people who do adult type stuff, but it's also it's a huge boundary to cross, and I would not wish I would not wish that on my worst enemy. Like even when people were saying that they had pictures of CJ Craig, I was like, no, that's wrong. That will not make you any better than him.
I don't know if those are real or not. I've heard there's some fake ones going around. So
yeah.
some Photoshop. Let's see what the chat's saying. I've been ignoring them for a little bit.
Yeah, somebody said something about a 4-hour video, and I don't know what that's in reference to.
A what video?
Candy says, I watched the 4-hour video. It didn't seem like 4 hours.
Oh, I think they're talking about someone made a 4-hour video on RS, and I think that's what they're referring to. I think someone said something about that earlier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I haven't watched that one either.
I haven't seen that one.
I don't have 4 hours to kill. I'll be watching like 20-hour chunks or 20-minute chunks. So, Carlos Mazda's blocked Kanish on Twitter. Good to know. I don't know. You can debate politics. That's always fun.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what's going to happen with today, because today Washington sent in their ballots, and I couldn't even fucking locate how to get, like, I sent my ballot to my last address, and I don't know if it ever arrived there because I haven't been there in about a week. So I'm kind of pissed I didn't get to vote.
Oh well. Well, who did you try to vote for?
Oh,
if you don't mind sharing.
I'm public about it on Twitter. So I personally like Bernie. He's an old fart, but I stand with him.
Well, what Bernie says publicly, I don't know about democratic socialism because I just don't think the Democratic part will last, and it requires a trust in the government that they're not going to steal all your taxes. but I think Bernie Sanders might secretly be a communist.
Oh,
secretly,
yeah, probably.
Have you heard those speeches about him seizing the means of production?
No.
Oh, he's got some older speeches where he talks about how we need to seize the means of production from the millionaires and the billionaires. Which
that was a good impression.
I know. I actually have a good Bernie Sanders impression if I try. That's the problem with my opinion on politics is I automatically assume I'm being lied to. So.
I mean, it's hard not to when you've been through the shit that we have. It's like, are you actually going to give us universal health care? And also, like, the thing that a lot of people in my communities have been mad about is that he voted for the bills that took basically a lot of rights away from adult entertainers and things of that nature. So, yeah. So really? Even the people that stand with Bernie are like, Bernie, you need to get rid of FOSTA and the other one, because it like really messed up a lot of people's income, family lives. Some people even got deported because of it, but it had more to do with in-person services. So
that's an issue I've never heard before. That's very downplayed. That's interesting. That Bernie hates sex workers.
Yeah, so everyone was like, if Bernie gets in, can we like all at him and be like, hey, you need to undo that, please.
Get all the porn bots to start spamming him.
That'd be great. I mean, like, there's so many adult entertainers for Bernie. Like, there was even a tag that was like "hot girls for Bernie," and I was like, I'm not a girl, but can I join? Like, uh,
Yeah, yeah. I think actually the women might like Bernie more than they like Warren. So
oh yeah, yeah. It's
Warren
been
is like Hillary Clinton wearing a Bernie Sanders mask.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it was surprising when she had dropped out, and I don't even think she endorsed anyone. Um,
No, I think her and Bernie like were friends at one point. They had like a falling
yeah,
out. She like accused him of saying that a woman could never be president to her on
yeah,
national television. Yeah, I think
and
she decided to
she fucking
politically backstab.
yeah, she fucking acted like she wasn't mic'd either. Like she walked away from the stand to say that, and then like everyone was like, and Bernie was
Yeah,
like, "What are you doing? Like we're on live." Like,
yeah. Speaking of shady tactics and things like that, Andrew Yang, they like cut his mic off like on 3 different debates or something. They just muted him.
oh wow, yeah. I wish that I've had the ability to dedicate more energy to politics because I find it to be becoming more and more important because like
Yeah,
I mean we got Trump, so
yeah.
and that's been real fun.
At least he doesn't. At least he opposes the globalist. I mean, he's I don't really like Republican presidents as a general rule, but at least he opposes the globalists in the United Nations. I could give him that. But as far as who was I just talking about? Oh, Andrew Yang goes. The one thing I will say about Trump that if Trump got muted in the middle of a debate, he'd walk up to somebody else's microphone and be like, "Oh, excuse me, I am muted. Fix that." I'm using a Bernie impression for Trump, but anyway. So
Oh God, that would be interesting. Presidential debate between Trump and Biden. They keep on going to the other's mic and be like, "Hey."
Biden forgets where he is halfway through. Have you heard the rumor that Joe Biden might be senile?
Yeah, I saw that his like cognitive decline was trending on Twitter, and I was like, "Oh
Yeah,
great, we've got
people,
Bernie's shitty health, and then we've got Biden losing his fucking mind, and then Trump is already insane." So it's like,
yeah.
great.
I think the worst case. This has been scrubbed from the internet. It's really hard to find. You can find a picture of Joe Biden's in the middle of a debate, and his eye starts filling with blood.
Oh
Like it's
God.
like starts like he pops a blood vessel, and his eye is like bright red in the middle, and he's still talking. It looks dead.
That's scary. I actually had a burst blood vessel right around the RSN stuff when my stream got leaked. I was like, "Oh my God," because it was in my bad eye and like I that's another interesting thing that targeted individuals will experience is like drugging, especially drugging of children. I my first experience with LSD was actually getting it dropped onto my eye. Um, and you don't want that. It's corrosive and will
Mm.
burn the shit out of your retina.
Was
It will
this
be
like
very high,
was
but
this like a willing thing, or was that like the cult that was doing that?
that was the cult.
Wow.
I was a
Yeah.
youngster.
Wow. Then you must have been pretty young then, right? Below the age of 7, you said?
Yeah,
Yeah. Definitely not the age to be doing acid.
no, it is not. And it was weird because the first time that I ever did acid, I had a flashback to that moment, and I was like, I've done this before. And my friends were like, when? You said that you've never done it. And I was like, I can't talk about it. Like, this is not the conversation anyone wants to hear while tripping.
Just quit, make everyone paranoid, make everyone hide under a blanket.
Yep.
Uh,
Um, anybody got anything else they want to contribute? I should probably take Puppo out here soon because it's
yeah,
been
let's take some last
almost,
minute questions so we can get our dogs out. I'm sure my dogs are gonna wake up here in a few minutes anyway.
yeah.
Then you'll see me getting horribly assaulted. If one of my dogs, if you don't pet her, will scream. If you stop petting her, she will whack you with her paw and continue screaming. She's got some entitlement issues. Let me tell you, I've spoiled them too much.
Yeah, I do the bark box for my puppos and like it's like $30 a month and you can't cancel it. And I'm like, I regret doing this. I thought I had stable housing
but I've been able to make it work so far, and her bark box should be coming soon. They get so fucking excited because they remember what the box is. Like they see me bring it in if it's the right size, and they're like, "That's mine."
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, if there's any last minute questions, drop them now for her, me, or sorry, they and me. Or so I told you I'm bad at that. My brain short
You're good.
circuits.
An easy thing that I always tell people is like just think there's multiple up here. So like honestly, if you call any of us they them, it's applicable.
Yeah.
Because I mean we're also an us and a we. Luna fucked that up a couple days ago on the phone with the person who was scheduling my surgery, and it probably sounded like we were fucking crazy because we're like, oh yeah, we think we could be there. And they're like, is somebody coming with you, like your driver? And we're like, uh
Uh, but what is
can
the
we
meaning of life?
the meaning of life is to make connections and um I don't know. I think it's really about connections personally. And somebody
My answer is
asked,
life has. My answer is life has no meaning. It's pure fucking chaos.
yeah, I agree with that one as well. It's just a stream of events, really. The meaning of life is whatever you pretend that the meaning is, and I feel like some people have different meanings or missions that they're on. Um, but that's some of the cult programming personally. Like I still identify with that bit of the message was that there's people that come on for certain purposes.
It's an interesting concept.
Yeah, pie. The meaning of life is pie, Cody. I didn't know you were still in here. Hi, Cody. You're the real MVP. You're always here.
Is life real, or are we in the Matrix? Interesting.
You know, that one fucks me up. Like, especially with the idea, I'm like, am I dreaming? Am I in the real world? Like, I don't even know. Unless I'm in places that I haven't like dreamt about, it can be really tricky for me.
Yeah, I
But
imagine if you have like an inner world the way you do, like, am I in a matrix within a matrix right now?
yeah, and then like so last thing from me, because we're getting a lot of like existential questions. Let me tell you, when you go back for surgery, in most places, unless it's interventional radiology, it looks like you're going into the matrix in the back of the place where they plug their brains in. Cause like there's computers all over the fucking place. It's normally a dark room, and then they wheel you in on the gurney, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna get murdered. Like,
There goes my organs.
yeah, 100%.
Uh,
All right, on that creepy morbid note, I think I bid you guys well. I will be available DMs. I have to go unblock Irish and talk with her, I
oh,
believe.
here. Yeah, I'll post your GoFundMe one last time for
Yeah.
anyone joining us here at the end.
Yeah, I haven't checked my phone throughout this process, so if anybody has donated, thank you. Even like $1 really helps. Because I am, for those of you who haven't heard a bit of my backstory, I am in a bit of a housing crisis on top of a medical emergency. So I'm trying to get into hopefully school, and then I can stay on campus, but I don't know if that will happen or not. So I have a place until it sounds like around mid-April, and then I've got to yeet the fuck out to wherever I'm going to go. I have a tent, but that's as much as I know at the moment. And I got really lucky that people like me here. They like my dog here. So
Yeah. Well, you said you were close to getting monetized as well on YouTube.
yeah. So the issue is that I would have to move some of my content and my most viewed videos. It's weird because my subscribers have kind of shifted in their interests because the BDSM videos, like the one that has the most views is like 27 or 37,000 views. Um, and it's insane
Wow.
that many people have watched my video. And then like there's weirder ones like me shaving my eyebrows, but then like the third one is the peep show booth that I worked at. So it's a lot of adult themes. So I don't know if I'm going to move all of the content. One of my Patreon subscribers who's actually in here had said to move everything to my other channel and kind of just make this one
Yeah.
safe for work. Um,
Yeah.
and I'll think about it. I'll think about it if they give
I
me
don't
the
know if
opportunity to.
you've checked that ASMR channel or not, but it's actually getting quite a bit of views. It seems to be popular. The last time I
Okay.
looked at it. So
Interesting. I'll let Luna know.
yeah, I mean, I can't fall asleep to anybody, but I did watch it and it was interesting.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All day donate tomorrow. I broke today. All right. You also and Ananthi. I can't say that name, and my brain like trips over it and says Anthony every time.
I think it's Anthony Grulon Nunez, maybe. I don't know. I
Yeah.
can't pronounce half the people's names in the chat. It's confusing.
You need to reach out to me on Twitter. That way we can schedule some Skype sessions to teach you how to sign because I would love to practice ASL with someone. BDSM would have to go. Yep, I already know that. Bye-bye. Have a blessed night. Yes, you as well. Bye-bye, bye-bye.
BDSM
Yes, thank you
plus
for
ASMR, BDSMR.
Oh, that'd be fun. I might let Luna make some of that content now that she's old enough to. But let's see. All right, everybody. I think that we're gonna bid you well. Let us know on some type of social media or the comment section if you made it this far. What else you would like to hear us ramble about?
Definitely. I had
This
fun. So I would like to talk
I
again.
did too. Yeah, that was awesome. All right, you wanna go outside?
All right.
Dead asleep. Good night, everyone.
All right. Good night.
All right, leave the studio. You clicked on Discord.
Wow, that was a fun conversation. So, yeah, we talked on quite a few topics, and yeah, I don't even know what I'm going to title this because we covered so many topics. So I think I'll just keep it how it is. So, yep. If there's anything else you would like me to cover on this channel, like I said, send me things on my social medias or in the comment section below. I would like to wish a happy birthday to Deity of YouTube. And be sure to like, comment, subscribe, as is tradition. And I'll see you next time.